Chapter 1839. This is the ancient Fuyao Formation. Suyu stared at it, his eyes flickering. He found it familiar. Then, Huanmei carefully took out a black stone the size of a fist and a silver scroll. On the scroll were specks of light that looked like stars scattered everywhere, and there were lines connecting them. Seeing these two items, Suyu's heart skipped a beat. It's that thing. His heart shook, but his expression did not change. His eyes quickly regained their calm. Huanmei pasted the silver scroll on the wall. The lines immediately swirled, forming a vortex the size of a fist. It was the size of the black stone. She shouted, "Everyone, get within 100 feet of the ancient formation." Everyone approached. Suyu stood on the ancient Fuyao formation without batting an eyelid. Seeing that everyone was ready, Huanmei pressed the star stone into the vortex. At once, the entire pattern released an intense light. Among the 100,000 earth veins, those that had not yet withered were rapidly drained of earth energy, rapidly withering. When Suyu saw this, he suddenly understood. It was no wonder that there were so many intersecting withered earth veins beneath the royal family. Every time the ancient Fuyao formation was used, it needed to absorb a massive amount of earth energy to activate. It must have been used several times to cause the withered earth veins to appear everywhere. But no matter what, they could finally leave. The pattern grew brighter and brighter, illuminating the entire world of withered earth veins. The powerful white light even penetrated the ground, reaching the sky above the royal family. Princess Rukin and the princes were all alarmed. The gray-robed emperor seemed to recall something after a moment of shock. His expression changed, and he let out a furious roar from deep within the palace. Who dares to touch the ancient Fuyao formation? He shattered the ground beneath his feet with a punch, revealing the withered earth veins. He desperately rushed in the direction of the ancient Fuyao formation. But the ancient Fuyao formation had already been activated. He could not stop it if he rushed over now. Huanmei clutched the star stone tightly, her lips curling into a smile. "Everyone, we will meet again if fate permits it. Ancient formation, activate." With a loud roar, everyone was enveloped by the white light and sent into the transportation. 1 breath passed, 2 breaths passed, 3 breaths passed, 10 breaths passed, but the white light was still in its original spot, with no intention of starting the transportation. What's going on? Why hasn't the transportation started? Strange. Manager Phantom, what are you doing? At this moment, the blinding white light began to dim, and the ancient Fuyao formation gradually stopped operating. A scene that caused everyone's expression to change drastically appeared in front of them. One of the phantoms was pointed at the wall by a finger. His head was penetrated, and his soul was destroyed. To think that an overlord of the pinnacle realm had died without a trace. Following the finger, the crowd turned to look at the owner of the finger, and their faces warped. "Scarface Xiong, are you crazy?" A fat man with a fierce face kicked him. However, just as he lifted his foot, the fatty suffered from some kind of terrifying power, and with a bang, he turned into a mist of blood. Scarface Xiong's face was calm. He loosened his fingers, and Huanmei's corpse slumped against the wall. He walked over with his hands clasped behind his back, and gently grabbed the star stone that hadn't melted yet. "Dao Ba Xiong, stop right there." A notorious criminal with an ominous glint flashed in his eyes. He picked up a huge saber and slashed at the waist. In the end, the moment the saber touched Scarface Xiong, the center turned into a cloud of blood mist just like the fatty from before. What's wrong with Scarface Xiong? What does he have that's so powerful? The pupils of a group of pinnacle overlord slayers shrank. Only the sovereign's expressions changed, and their faces darkened. The Emperor Corpse's expression was grave, and he said in a low voice, "You're not Scarface Xiong. Who are you?" The real Scarface Xiong was at most in sovereigns. However, in the situation just now, he easily turned a pinnacle overlord into a cloud of blood mist. That wasn't something a sovereign's with a single crown could do. Scarface Xiong looked at him indifferently. With just a glance, the Emperor Corpse's eyes widened, and his body flew backward, smashing into the wall. A fist-sized hole appeared in his chest, and he opened his mouth to spit out a large amount of corpse energy. The Emperor Corpse was a true sovereign with 2 crowns, and he was even one of the best. He was actually killed with just a glance. Everyone stared at Scarface Xiong, and their expressions changed. You are. The Emperor Corpse didn't die. He climbed up with difficulty, and his face was filled with shock. Scarface Xiong held the Star Stone, and with his hands clasped behind his back, he said calmly, "You used my DU Empire's ancient Fuyao formation, but you didn't even greet me, and you even asked who I was?" He. For a moment, there was dead silence. Everyone's eyes focused on Dao Scarface Xiong's body as waves of light flashed, and his image changed. He was no longer Scarface Xiong, but an imposing middle-aged man wearing a yellow robe with 9 dragons on it and a crown on his head. He stared at the crowd with a faint smile. "Everyone, who do you think I am?" Among the crowd, a woman with a mouth full of fear and hatred shouted, "Dong Fong Xia." He was the current emperor of the DU Empire, the most powerful emperor in the history of the empire. Dongfang Xia, who was chasing after the double-crowned fire dragon in the void, had actually sneaked into their midst. One should know that they had started to set up the ancient Fuyao formation a month ago. If he had sneaked in at that time, didn't it mean that someone else was chasing after the double-crowned fire dragon? Royal sister, long time no see. I missed you very much. Dongfang Xia clasped his hand behind his back and smiled. The one who screamed was naturally the Empire's royal princess, Dongfang Xia's elder sister, Dongfang Shunlei. Her face was livid, and she said, "This was all your plan, wasn't it? Chasing after the double-crowned fire dragon was just your plan to lure the snake out of its hole." Dongfang Xia said calmly, You could say that. After all, royal sister is very elusive. You would not easily show up unless there was a special opportunity. Coincidentally, a fire dragon appeared, so I thought that if I left the Empire, royal sister would definitely show up and cause trouble. So after you lured me out, you immediately sealed off all the borders of the Empire. In fact, it was just a bluff to scare us away. Dongfang Shun, Lei said with hatred. From the beginning to the end, it was all Dongfang Xia's plot. Sealing off the borders was to make them have no choice but to use the ancient Fuyao formation to escape and capture her and all her henchmen. For this reason, Dongfang Xia did not hesitate to disguise himself as Dao Scarface Xiong and sneak into their midst. He had been waiting patiently until now. As you said, I originally only wanted to get rid of royal sister and her henchmen once and for all. Unexpectedly, it seemed that there was something interesting that had jumped into the trap. Dongfang Xia clasped his hands behind his back and smiled. Bei Xian's bloodline has betrayed me. What a surprise. The pair king, the current family master, Bei Wangchun, Bei Wangzhu, and Bei Wangting knelt down together. The pair king and the current family master looked bitter. Greetings, your majesty. Dongfang Xia glanced at them indifferently. Then his eyes fell on the emperor corpse, the corpse emperor, and the rest of the people. His eyes were slightly cold. How dare a few corpse clan covet a 3-star civilization? You overestimate yourself. Then he looked at Su Yu with sharp eyes. The one who surprised me the most is you. He raised his head and sighed. My son, why did you betray me too? Or, are you not my son at all? With a wave of his sleeve, the blinding leaf in Su Yu's hand disappeared and fell into Dongfang Xia's hand. Su Yu's real face was revealed. Su Yu! Su Yu! Su Yu! Exclamations of surprise resounded in the crowd at the same time. The bloodline of Bei Xian, Dongfang Xinlei, and the corpse clan were all shocked. This time, Dongfang Xia was surprised. Oh, my son, you have quite a wide network. A group of people from all walks of life knows you. Now that things had come to this, so you could only tell the truth. I am not your son. Unexpectedly, Dongfang Xia flicked his sleeve and laughed. I knew a long time ago. What? Su Yu was stunned. Dongfang Xia's face darkened slightly. How could I not know? My 6th son died many years ago. The land belongs to the king. Even if it is a fief, it is still my country. How could you hide it from me? When you appeared, I knew you were a fake. Su Yu was confused. Then why? Of course I wanted to see who was behind you. It turned out that he had mistaken Su Yu for a threat to the Empire. He had deliberately cast a long line to catch a big fish, hoping to lure out the person behind him. Unfortunately, the truth was not what he had imagined. What surprised me was that you dared to collude with Princess Rukin and Emperor Wuhan to deceive me just for Daoyu. I am also surprised by your courage. Dongfang Xiao laughed. Su Yu was silent. He had underestimated the power of the three-crowned emperor and the control a monarch had over the empire. Everything about him was in Dongfang Xiao's eyes. Since I've been caught by you, I am at your disposal. Su Yu simply spread out his hands. Unless he died together with the three-crowned emperor, he would not be able to resist. Unexpectedly, Dongfang Xia smiled mysteriously. Of course I will punish you, and I will punish you well. But not now. You stand aside. Su Yu stood to one side, quietly observing the situation. The descendants of Beixin stand aside. The descendants of Beixin stood aside nervously. Now, only the Corpse Clan and Dongfang Divine Lei's forces were left, as well as some scattered criminals. As for you, Dai, Dongfang Xia said calmly. As soon as the word Dai fell, the crowd immediately exploded into a mist of blood. Nearly 100 people were killed in an instant. Only the Emperor Corpse, the Corpse Emperor, Lan Yu, and Dongfang Divine Lei survived. The rest were all dead. However, all of them were seriously injured. Dongfang Divine Lei's body was festering, and she was only one step away from death. Dongfang Xia, you will die a horrible death. Dongfang Divine Lei, who was in despair, attacked Dongfang Xia. Dongfang Xia snorted coldly. He could crush her like an ant. In the past, this ant had been hiding, and he could not do anything about it. Now, he could crush her with a finger. However, Dongfang Divine Lei's attack suddenly changed direction and turned into a grab. Su Yu, surrender. Su Yu was the only person that Dongfang Xia had his eyes on, so he was the most suitable hostage. Chapter 1840. Dongfang Xia put his hands behind his back and didn't try to stop her. Instead, he smiled meaningfully. As Su Yu saw this, he knew very well that his true abilities were most likely being grasped by him. Sighing, Su Yu took out the Tianyi Bao and shot an arrow at Dongfang Xia. Chi! The black light pierced through the sky and nailed Dongfang Shunlei to the ground. Dongfang Shunlei's body and divine soul, which were riddled with holes, were destroyed on the spot. One arrow for one emperor. Seeing this, the emperor's corpse, the Corpse Emperor, and Lan Yu had complicated expressions on their faces. Dongfang Shunlei, who used to be a nonentity, had now become an existence comparable to an emperor. How is this possible? Dongfang Shunlei screamed in disbelief as her soul was destroyed. Only one person said, "It is impossible for her to be captured by you." Bei Wangchun stared at Su Yu with a complicated expression. He thought he would never see this man again. Unexpectedly, he met him again. Haha, not bad. Dongfang Xia smiled faintly and turned to look at the emperor's corpse, the Corpse Emperor, and Lan Yu. My son, get rid of them as well. The emperor's corpse was seriously injured. His real strength had fallen to the level of a single-crown emperor. The Corpse Emperor was still at the peak of the single-crown emperor, and Lan Yu is not worth mentioning. Swish! The emperor's corpse stood in front of the Corpse Emperor and growled. To kill the Corpse Emperor, you have to get past me first. He had the air of a loyal protector of his master. If Su Yu was asked to kill the descendants of Bei Xian, he would be a bit reluctant to do so. The Corpse Clan, haha, did they deserve to be loyal? They would eat people at every turn, and if it was light, they would kill. Everywhere they passed, living beings would be plunged into misery and suffering, and all living things would be destroyed. Everything they did was dark, bloody, and heinous. Did they deserve to be pitted? Arrow! Su Yu shouted. A stream of light fell on his palm. He quickly put the bowstring on and aimed at the Emperor's corpse. The Emperor's corpse, who used to dominate the constellation C, was now forced into a corner by Su Yu. It was sad and ridiculous. Su Yu, do you think I'm afraid of you? Swish! Su Yu loosened his fingers, and the stream of light shot toward its head. However, the Emperor's corpse was still the Emperor's corpse. It could kill a single crown emperor with a single blow. However, the emperor's corpse grabbed the stream of light with his palm. An unparalleled force pushed the emperor corpse back and also shattered a large chunk of the emperor corpse's palm. He only managed to stabilize his body after the arrow dissipated. However, he still managed to block Su Yu's attack. That's all you've got. The emperor's corpse laughed contemptuously. The fact that he was able to withstand the blow despite being seriously injured was undoubtedly a mockery of Su Yu. Su Yu replied calmly, "Is that so?" A spatial blade suddenly shot out from the arrow and sliced across the neck of the emperor's corpse. The emperor corpse was shocked and hurriedly dodged to the side. However, he was still a little too late. Half of his neck was severed. Qi, dense corpse energy, surged out and quickly healed the wound, reconnecting the head that was about to be separated from the body. This was why the corpse race was difficult to deal with. Unless their heads were chopped off, they wouldn't die no matter what. However, since Su Yu had made his move, it would surely be a fatal strike. He held the arrow tightly in his hand and shot out dozens of hidden spatial blades. Puchi! Puchi! After a series of random shots that covered the sky and covered the earth, not only was the head of the emperor corpse cut off, but it was also completely annihilated. The emperor corpse. The corpse emperor's eyes were wide open as he roared. His pair of bloodshot eyes stared at Su Yu as if he wanted to devour him. Su Yu, why is it always you? The plan to conquer the Sea of Constellations had been ruined by the betrayal of Zhuji and the other corpse emperors because of him. The plan to conquer the Diyu Empire civilization had also been ruined because of him. The evil dragon lord could not be released. Somehow, it was as if Su Yu was his natural nemesis, always restraining him. In the end, even the emperor corpse that he relied on the most and was most loyal to died in the hands of Su Yu. His grievance and anger could only be imagined. After the Sea of Constellations, you should have understood that you should have kept your distance when you saw me. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are today, Su Yu said calmly. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the arrow. He put the bowstring on and gently aimed at the corpse emperor. The corpse emperor's eyes were full of grief and indignation, as if he was a hero at the end of his road. Of course, that was his own opinion. In Su Yu's eyes, he was a criminal. His fingers loosened, and the flowing light mercilessly pierced the corpse emperor's head. As a single crown emperor, he had no resistance against the Tianyi Bao. Puchi, his head was pierced on the spot. Under normal circumstances, he should have died immediately. However, unexpectedly, a large amount of black light burst out from the pierced head. A pitch-black bead floated out from the head. The bead contained a terrifying power, almost comparable to the Pathmaster's Buddhist Saraira. Dongfang Xia, who was smiling calmly, suddenly froze. Divine bead of the Tao corpse, who are you? As he spoke, he grabbed the air and suppressed the black bead. However, the corpse energy contained in the black bead was earth-shattering. With a slight tremble, it shook off Dongfang Xia's suppression. At the same time, the bead descended with a dense corpse energy, enveloping the corpse emperor. The bead rotated casually and cut through the barrier of the Diyu Empire, revealing senior sister Nihility outside. She took him with her and escaped into the void. Before leaving, the corpse emperor did not forget Lan Yu and grabbed her. "Where are you going?" Dongfang Xia was shocked and immediately attacked the bead. However, the bead did not even tremble. It easily blocked the attack. In the dense corpse energy, the corpse emperor's bloodshot eyes were full of hatred. "Su Yu, the Diyu Empire, I swear that if I don't destroy you, I will never be an emperor. Just wait and see." With a furious roar, the bead took him away and disappeared without a trace. Dongfang Xia was left behind with a gloomy face. He never expected that one of the corpse clan members he accidentally captured would have the divine bead of the Tao corpse. The so-called Tao corpse, as the name suggested, was the existence of the Pathmaster of the corpse clan. The divine bead of the Tao corpse was the crystallization of a lifetime that could only be condensed by a Pathmaster. This creature, who was merely at the level of an emperor, was most likely a strong Pathmaster when he was alive and suddenly resurrected after his death. However, He had not inherited all the power of his previous life and was only a single crown emperor. If Su Yu's arrow hadn't pierced through his head and triggered the crisis, the divine bead of the Dao corpse might not have appeared. Thinking that the Diyu Empire had provoked a Dao corpse, Dongfang Xia's mood became gloomy. Su Yu took back the arrow with surprise and a hint of realization in his eyes. The faceless Buddha used his lifetime path master's Buddha Saraira to suppress the corpse emperor. It was not groundless. He had doubts before. Although the corpse emperor was powerful, he was not worthy of being suppressed by a path master. At first, he thought it was because of his identity as the corpse emperor. Now he understood that the corpse emperor had been a path master in his previous life. That was why the faceless Buddha suppressed him at all costs, for fear that he would bring chaos to the world in the future. Compared to Dongfang Xia's worries, Su Yu's state of mind was much calmer. He had provoked more than one path master. He was not afraid of being bitten when there were too many of them. So what if there was one more? Moreover, the corpse emperor's current strength was still far from that of a path master. What was there to be afraid of? Perhaps it was because he had figured this out. Dongfang Xia's face gradually softened, but it was still a little gloomy. He glanced at Su Yu and Bei Xin. He looked at the former meaningfully, while the latter frowned deeply. "It's your turn." Dongfang Xia stared at them. Affected by the corpse emperor, he was in a bad mood. He snorted coldly. "Betraying the Diyu Empire is a great crime. Be prepared. Follow me back to the Empire." Bei Xin's people were nervous. Not killing them on the spot did not necessarily mean that they were spared. It could also be a warning to others and that they would be executed in public. Su Yu hesitated for a moment. He looked at the ancient Fuyao formation, which was gradually dimming, and quietly followed Dongfang Xia out of the earth vein. Back at the palace, everything was the same as before. The princess's mansion was still bustling with noise and excitement. Princess Rukin and Emperor Wuhan had not escaped yet. They had no idea that Su Yu had left for several days. Su Yu smiled bitterly when he returned. Fate really made fools of him. Soon, at the Heavenly Harmony Palace, Dongfang Xia reviewed memorials all year round and handled state affairs. The first prince, second prince, third prince, fourth prince, fifth prince, and Princess Rukin were all present. They were both surprised and pleasantly surprised. They were pleasantly surprised that their father had returned. All the conspiracies and plots against the empire in the past had been swept away, which made them feel very relieved. They were surprised that their father was not hunting down the double-crowned fire dragon. Why did he suddenly appear in the palace without any movement? "Welcome back, father," the princes said in unison. Only Su Yu, who was standing opposite them, did not address them as such, which made the princes secretly speculate. Before they arrived, Su Yu was in the palace, and the atmosphere between him and Dongfang Xia was very strange. "How have you been, my son?" Dongfang Xia asked with a smile, looking them up and down. The first prince raised his head and puffed out his chest. "Thank you for your concern, father. We are very well." "That's good," Dongfang Xia said. "The Diyu Empire has been troubled recently. Many hidden hostile forces have taken the opportunity to stir up trouble. I am relieved that you are safe." Princess Rukin said with a smile. "Father, why did you suddenly come back?" The gray-robed emperor said you were still on your way. Dongfang Xia chuckled, and his gaze toward Princess Rukin was exceptionally kind. "I came back early to take the opportunity to deal with a group of hostile forces, so I did not inform you." For example, Princess Rukin was the youngest and most favored by Dongfang Xia. She was the only one who dared to ask such a question. For example, Dongfang Divine Lei. The prince's expressions changed, and they were pleasantly surprised. To the royal family, Dongfang Divine Lei was tantamount to a malignant tumor, which made them restless day and night. Over the years, there had been countless vicious attacks against the royal family, and most of them were planned by Dongfang Divine Lei. The most sensational incident was the kidnapping of the 3 imperial concubines by Xianyue Langjun, which had become an indelible humiliation to the royal family. Now that she had been killed, it was really a pleasant surprise. The heavy stone that had accumulated in their hearts for many years suddenly disappeared. Princess Rukin was startled and she was a little absent-minded. Dead? Dead just like that? The enemy whom she had tried to kill, even at the cost of fighting for the position of crown prince, had died, just like that? A surreal feeling lingered in her mind. Of course, this was done with the help of your sixth brother. Dongfang Divine, Lei was also killed by the sixth prince himself. The princes looked at Su Yu again, their gazes extremely complicated. On the one hand, they were jealous of Su Yu's abilities, which far surpassed them in all aspects. On the other hand, they had to admit that he was indeed outstanding. He had made a name for himself in the ruins of the Dayu Empire, and then he had besieged the great enemy of the royal family with their father. All these achievements could not be achieved by jealousy alone. Princess Rukin's face shone brightly when she heard that. He was really a great person in her life. He had helped her seize the position of crown prince, and he had also helped her kill her mother. However, she was surprised that Su Yu had gone to help her father. Princess Rukin knew his background better than anyone else. Besides, your sixth brother also killed the Corpse clan with his own hands and led all the potential hostile forces of the Dayu Empire to one place, so that I could wipe them all out in one go. Dongfang Xia chuckled. I will draft a decree and announce it to the world. Chapter 1841. It was clearly Dongfang Xia's own plan to lure all the hostile forces into the trap and capture them all. Su Yu had only brought along Huan Mei. Now he was pushing all the blame onto Su Yu. He did not think this was a good thing. There were bound to be remaining hostile forces, and they would definitely vent their hatred on Su Yu. Moreover, that Huan Mei had an extraordinary identity, as she was from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce might not blame Su Yu for her death. Dongfang Xia looked at Su Yu with a faint smile, then retracted his gaze. In addition, there is a group of traitors from the Empire. Bring them here. Under the watch of a group of guards, the core members of Beixin's bloodline were all brought into the hall. The first prince's pupils shrank, and the other princes were also shocked. Princess Rukin covered her mouth, unable to contain her surprise. How many dynasties had it been since a king had betrayed them? Once this was announced, it would be a historic event that would shake the empire. What was most unbelievable was that Bei Wang Chun had displayed outstanding talent. Sooner or later, he would become the most powerful thief in the empire. Bei Wang Chun might even break through the three crown emperors and become a powerful national guardian. It was unimaginable that such a family had betrayed them. My sons, what do you think I should do? Dongfang Xia asked calmly. For a moment, the princes were silent. There was only one way to betray the empire, and that was to wipe out the entire clan. What did their father mean by asking them for their opinions? Did he not want to kill Beixin's bloodline and wanted them to find a way out? Or was he trying to test their attitude towards Beixin's bloodline? To be honest, the princes were inextricably linked to their fiefs, and this was even more evident during the fight for the Great Yu's relics. Behind every prince, there was a conferred king who supported them. Beixin's support was undoubtedly the first prince. It was the first prince's turn to be in a difficult position. Dongfang Xia was unfathomable. His every word and action often had a deeper meaning. It would be a disaster if he made a slight mistake. He thought quickly, and a moment later, his eyes shot out a cold light. Father, I think they should be dealt with according to the laws of the empire. There was a reason for his answer. No matter what his father, the emperor, thought, he insisted on handling the matter according to the law and was impartial. Even if his father wanted to keep Beixin's bloodline alive, it could not be said that the great imperial prince's opinion was wrong. On the other hand, if his imperial father wanted to test the attitude of him and Beixin's bloodline, and if he pleaded for leniency and angered his imperial father's suspicions, then he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Hearing this, many people from Beixin's bloodline stared at the first prince. Bei Wang Chun gazed deeply at him and heaved a long sigh, but he didn't say a word. The north-gazing Pearl's beautiful face lost all color, unable to believe that the first one to request for severe punishment would be him, her future husband. Dongfang Xia's face was filled with an unfathomable expression. My son, I remember that you are engaged to the North-Pronged Pearl, right? What engagement? The eldest imperial prince was secretly resentful. The north-gazing Pearl and the sixth imperial brother had been together for a long time, so he couldn't do anything about it. Imperial father, it is precisely because of this that I should adhere to the laws of the country and not care about the personal feelings between a man and a woman, he replied righteously. Dongfang Xia nodded slightly. What about Huiren? Huiren was the name of the second prince. When his name was mentioned, the second prince said expressionlessly, I agree with the first brother's decision. The third prince, the fourth prince, and the fifth prince stood out one after another, expressing their agreement with the first prince. No one was willing to express their opinions carelessly and anger their imperial father. What about Rukin? Dongfang Xia asked. Princess Rukin was even more cautious. She had worked hard to become the first in the fight for the nation's fate, and the crown prince was in sight. If there was a slight mistake, all her previous efforts would be in vain. Imperial father, I also agree with the first brother's opinion. Anyway, she had never interacted with Beixin's bloodline. To be exact, Emperor Wuhan had once visited them to rope them in, but was mercilessly rejected by Beixin's bloodline. She didn't need to take the risk to plead for Beixin's bloodline. 5 princes and 1 princess unanimously agreed to exterminate Beixin's bloodline. The people from Beixin's bloodline looked bitter. Beixin's bloodline was going to end here. No matter how much they had contributed to the dynasty, and no matter how deep their relationship with the first prince was, when they made a mistake, everything was equal to 0. Dongfang Xiao's expression was unchanged, and he remained silent. Everyone knew that he was contemplating and making his final decision. He could decide the life and death of Beixin's bloodline with a single thought. Beixin's bloodline no longer held any hope. How could there be any hope when there was no one to speak up for them? As Dongfang Xia's eyes gradually turned cold, he had already made a decision in his heart. It was the worst kind. But just as he was about to speak, Su Yu, who had been silent all this time, slowly said, Imperial father, I think we could be lenient. The 5 princes and princesses turned to look at the source of the voice and were surprised. Anyone with a discerning eye could see the murderous intent in Dongfang Xia's eyes at the last moment. He did not want to leave Beixin's bloodline alive. Su Yu's objection was, in fact, going against his imperial father's wishes. If his imperial father was angry, the consequences would be unimaginable. But hearing Su Yu's words, the cold light in Dongfang Xia's eyes slowly faded, and he wore a faint smile. Oh, why? According to the laws of our empire, only death awaits those who betray us. This is the only way to intimidate the entire territory. Su Yu spoke frankly with assurance. First of all, only me, my brothers, my sister, and my imperial father know about the betrayal of Beixin's bloodline. If we did not say it, who would know? Could it be those traitors who are already dead? Secondly, there is a reason for the betrayal of Beixin's bloodline. I believe that my imperial father, who controls the entire territory, must know about it. He pointed out. Dongfang Xia smiled faintly. Continue. Their betrayal was not a matter of loyalty. They were forced to do so, and they had a forgivable original intention. Finally, the Dayu Empire has been promoted to a 3-star civilization, and it is the time to govern the neighboring civilizations. It is the time to use people. Beixin's bloodline has guarded the borders for many years, and they have made great contributions. How can we easily erase their contributions? Why not keep them and let them continue to serve us? After listening to his words, the people of Beixin's bloodline stared at Su Yu in disbelief. Even the north-gazing Pearl felt like she was dreaming. In her heart, Su Yu was the archenemy of the Beixin bloodline and the sinner who had harmed her deeply. The north-gazing Pearl resented him. However, when Beixin's bloodline was in trouble, the one who helped them was not the first prince, whom she had a close relationship with and was engaged to. It was the man she hated so much. She did not understand why Su Yu had done this. Only by cutting off Beixin's bloodline would no one leak the news that he had stolen the Beixin royal tripod. What he had done had no benefits. Bei Wangchun was stunned. He had imagined which prince would plead for the Beixin bloodline, but Su Yu was the only one he had not imagined. Dongfang Xiao looked at Su Yu quietly. He had even known that his own son had died long ago. Moreover, the disappearance of the Beixin royal tripod, which was related to the fate of the Dayu Empire, he had already known. The reason he had asked for the opinions of all the princes and princesses, but not Su Yu, was that he knew that Su Yu would kill him out of guilt. Who knew that Su Yu would take the initiative to plead for the Beixin bloodline? Dongfang Xiao looked at Su Yu meaningfully. He realized that he had the world under his control, and his sons were firmly in his grasp. Only Su Yu gave him an unfathomable feeling. He even suspected that if he wanted to kill Su Yu, he would have to pay an unimaginable price. "My son, do you mean what you said?" Dongfang Xia asked calmly, his face expressionless. Su Yu nodded slightly. Every word is sincere. The Beixin bloodline was implicated by him, and he could not sit back and do nothing. Dongfang Xia was silent for a long while, then nodded slightly and said, "Draft the decree." The eunuch beside him immediately raised his pen. "Prince Beixin has protected the country. He will be rewarded with 10,000 divine stones and a beautiful concubine. Bei Wangchan is talented and will be promoted to the commander of the Imperial Guards." Hearing this, the 5 princes and princesses' faces changed drastically. Their father had changed his intention to kill them and rewarded them generously. Not only did he destroy the Beixin bloodline, but he also rewarded them to appease them. All because of Su Yu's suggestion. They knew their father well. He was headstrong and rarely listened to the opinions of others. This was definitely the first time they had seen something like this. How much did he trust Su Yu? The Beixin bloodline felt like they were in a dream. Prince Beixin was pleasantly surprised and suddenly cowed out. "I am guilty. Speak." The Beixin royal cauldron is lost. The 5 princes and Princess Rooken were all shocked. That was the destiny of the Dayu Empire. Once it was lost, the foundation of the empire would be shaken, and the empire would be in turmoil. Even the death of his whole family would not be enough punishment. "I know." However, Dongfang Xia said calmly. How did he know? It was the Beixin bloodline's turn to be stunned. What did he know? Prince Beixin said in fear and trepidation, "Your Majesty, please punish me." Dongfang Xia laughed lightly. "It's just a cauldron. It doesn't matter if it's lost." Many people were dumbfounded. The cauldron that was said to stabilize the destiny of the Dayu Empire was just a cauldron in Dongfang Xia's eyes. He looked at the crowd and said calmly, "How could a few small cauldrons contain the destiny of the Dayu Empire? The real destiny of the nation is here." He pointed at himself and then at the crowd. The crowd did not understand what he meant. Dongfang Xia said with emotion, "The cauldron of destiny was forged by the first emperor, and it stabilized the destiny of the empire in different places. However, how many times do you think the empire is now? 1,000 times. 10,000 times. The original Dayu Empire was even worse than the constellation C. However, the destiny of the nation in the cauldron has never increased." Dongfang Xia's gaze was profound. The destiny of the empire is never decided by the destiny of the nation. It's decided by me, my sons, and all the ministers. You are the real destiny of the Dayu Empire. His words made the crowd's blood boil. The empire was what it was today because of them, not because of those dead cauldrons. Therefore, it's no big deal if it's lost. The destiny of the Dayu Empire will not weaken because of a small cauldron. Instead, it will grow stronger because of everyone's efforts. Hearing this, the crowd kowtowed and shouted, "Long live the emperor!" Dongfang Xia waved his hand. "You may rise. Continue drafting the decree." It's not over yet." The crowd then realized that the drafting of the decree was interrupted. The north-gazing pearl is virtuous and virtuous. The 6th prince's character and martial arts are top-notch. The 2 of them will get married within 10 days, and the whole nation will celebrate. The crowd was shocked. Even the north-gazing pearl was rewarded. The entire Beixin bloodline was rewarded. Wait, what was rewarded? Chapter 1842. The faces of Princess Rooken and the princes were full of doubt, shock, and confusion. Did father say something wrong? The north-facing pearl and the 6th prince? Was the north-facing pearl the 1st prince's fiancé? Moreover, why with the sixth prince? Was there a connection between them? Suyu was also stunned. He did not expect Dongfang Xia to bring out such an imperial edict. The north-facing pearl also froze on the spot. She stared at Suyu in shock and confusion. The engagement between her and the first prince had existed many years ago. Could Dongfang Xia have forgotten about it? The first prince's expression kept changing. He was also puzzled. He said hesitantly, "Father, the north-facing pearl is engaged to me. I'm afraid it's inappropriate to give her such a reward." He had no feelings for the north-facing pearl, so he would not feel bad if he killed her. But he could not tolerate the fact that his woman was engaged to someone else. In the eyes of outsiders, wouldn't it mean that the first prince was incompetent and allowed his fiancée to be taken away by someone else? Everyone pricked up their ears to listen. They also felt that this imperial edict was made without rhyme or reason. "Oh, how did your engagement come about? Do you have any impression of it?" Dongfang Xia asked calmly. The first prince bowed and said, "I remember. When I broke through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth, you praised me and asked me what I wanted. I said I wanted to marry the north-facing pearl, the young princess of Beixin's bloodline." Father nodded in agreement. The engagement between them was actually based on interests. In order to win over Beixin's bloodline and bribe Bei Wangshen, the first prince decided to marry Beixin's bloodline. In this way, the two parties were tied together. Beixin's bloodline had to fully support the first prince's ascension to the throne. For many years, Bei Wangshen had been secretly recruiting people for the first prince to use in the relic of the Great Yu for this reason. Dongfang Xia nodded slowly. "Well, what happened after that?" The first prince was startled. "That's what happened after that." Dongfang Xia's tone became unfathomable. "What I'm asking is, did you issue any imperial edicts after that?" "No." He only nodded in agreement, but did not say anything after that. The first prince did not pursue the matter further. "No, but it was father who personally agreed to it," the eldest imperial prince argued. Dongfang Xia said indifferently, "Since there isn't, your engagement is just a verbal arrangement. It doesn't count." The eldest imperial prince was unwilling to give up and said, "Father, please reconsider. Although there is no imperial edict, everyone in the world knows. If you decree my fiancée to be betrothed to someone else, wouldn't it become a joke in the world? The reputation of the royal family will also be affected." A sharp light flashed in Dongfang Xia's eyes, and his tone became slightly cold. "Are you threatening me?" The hearts of Princess Rukin and the princes trembled. Their imperial father was angry. The great prince could not help but shrink his neck. However, if he really shrank back now, he would never be able to raise his head again. "Imperial father, please reconsider." He kowtowed heavily and pleaded. Dongfang Xia's eyes turned cold. After a moment of silence, he said, "Fine, we will give you a chance. If you still can't keep the north-facing pearl, then it will be your own fault. If you try to stop us again..." A trace of killing intent could be felt clearly. "Thank you, father," the eldest prince said. He had finally won a glimmer of hope. Dongfang Xia said, "The north-gazing pearl." "Yes, your highness." The north-gazing pearl hurriedly kowtowed, her heart uneasy. Between a man and a woman, mutual consent is important. Let me ask you, between the first prince and the sixth prince, if you had to choose a fiancé, who would you choose? Answer truthfully. The eldest prince looked at her fervently and kept signaling her with his eyes. His eyes were exceptionally gentle, no longer as indifferent as before. This time, the north-gazing pearl was in an awkward position. She had never liked the eldest prince. She had only listened to her father's orders and sacrificed herself for the interests of the family. But as for Suyu, she had hated him to the core. Although her hatred had lessened, it was still too much to say that she liked him. Between the two of them, she did not like either of them. What made her smile bitterly was that Dongfang Xia would only allow her to choose one of the two. How would she dare to negotiate in front of Dongfang Xia? Not long ago, Dongfang Xia's tangible killing intent could not be faked. Without Su Yu's plea, they would not be in the situation where they were being rewarded now. Their entire clan might have been wiped out, their heads rolling. She raised her head, her eyes darting back and forth between the eldest prince and Su Yu. The eldest prince's ardent gaze was completely different from the merciless gaze that had just called for the annihilation of their entire clan. This made the north-gazing Pearl feel disgusted. She looked at Su Yu, only to see Su Yu frowning and staring at her. He kept shaking his head and mouthing, "I am not interested in you. Do not choose me." North-gazing Pearl, do you think I want to be loyal? Ever since they first met, this man had never made her happy. She had suffered at his hands time and time again. Now, he was even speaking in a tone that belittled her, which really made her furious. To be honest, she instinctively leaned towards the eldest prince. For a woman to have two partners, it would not be good for her reputation. But seeing Su Yu's expression and thinking of the curse that had not been lifted, she could not help but feel angry. She turned her head and said to Dongfang Xia, "I choose the sixth prince, Dongfang Yu." The eldest prince's face was ashen. Su Yu's expression was also ugly. This woman, couldn't she have continued to be the eldest prince's concubine? Why did she have to change her target? He had a feeling that Dongfang Xia must have had a plan to bestow marriage between the two of them. Dongfang Xia's expression softened. "So you like him?" North-gazing Pearl bit her lips and nodded. "Yes, I like him very much." "Oh, why don't you tell me how you like him?" "Ugh." It was North-gazing Pearl's turn to be restless. She had only said it casually and had not thought much about it. But since the monarch had asked, she could only brace herself and make up a lie. When the sixth prince first went to the Sea of Constellations to train, he attacked me due to a misunderstanding, and then we got to know each other through a fight, and I gradually developed feelings for the sixth prince. Su Yu was dumbfounded. This woman was good at making up lies. At that time, she had clearly been captured by Su Yu as a hostage. It was good enough that she did not strangle Su Yu to death. She had gradually developed feelings for him. "Haha, interesting," Dongfang Xia laughed. "So, you have developed feelings for him over time, and you can't extricate yourself from it?" North-gazing Pearl's heart twitched. To be precise, she hated him so much that she could not extricate herself. Every time the curse was triggered, she would be ravaged in her dreams. When she woke up, her hatred for Su Yu would deepen. A lie often required thousands of lies to cover it up. "Yes, I can't extricate myself from it." North-gazing Pearl braced herself and answered. Dongfang Xia said playfully, "Is that so? Why can I see it? I have seen many lovers, but it is the first time I have seen someone with such clear eyes and no feelings. Are you lying to me? You know the crime of deceiving the monarch. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because the sixth prince is pleading for you." This was what it meant by the monarch's power was unpredictable. Just now, he had wanted to reward them, and now he was going to turn against them. Pear Duke, North Xian Duke, North Wangchun, and North Gazing Pavilion were all shocked. North Gazing Pearl's beautiful face turned pale, and her face was full of panic. She was about to be seen through. North Xian Duke knew that if he did not act decisively, he would be in trouble. He could only put on an old face and said awkwardly, "Your Majesty, to be honest, my daughter does not want to eat or drink with the sixth prince, and she is deeply in love with him." "Is that so? Why can't I see that?" Dongfang Xia sneered. Duchess Beixin blushed and said, "Your Majesty, I won't hide it from you. Ever since my daughter fell in love with the sixth prince, she has been suffering from a strange illness. Every time she acts up, she will dream of having sex with the sixth prince." North-gazing Pearl's face turned red immediately. At this moment, she wished she could find a hole to hide in and never come out again. How could this be? She had found the divine herb, and she would be able to bid farewell to this shameful curse in a month's time. But she made a wrong decision, and her father had to use this matter to cover up his lie. She regretted not acting so impulsively, and choosing the first prince wouldn't have so many problems. For a moment, the benevolence hall was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Princess Rookin blinked and looked at North-gazing Pearl in a daze. She mumbled, "What do you mean by having sex with him and having sex with him? Why do my royal brothers look so weird?" In the originally quiet hall, his mumbling was amplified by several times. Even Dongfang Xia, who was sitting on the dragon throne, could hear it clearly. Moreover, the north-gazing pearl was so close at hand. Her face turned even redder, and her whole body stiffened as if she had been frozen. Prince Beishing sighed secretly. "Daughter, I'm sorry. I can only let you suffer." Pear King, North-gazing, and North-gazing were all blushing and embarrassed. The first prince was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Although he had already known about it, he was still resentful to hear it announced in public. After a moment of silence, Dong Fangxia coughed awkwardly. "Oh, I see. I didn't expect North-gazing Pearl to be so deeply in love with my son." He turned to look at the first prince. "You heard it all? What else do you have to say?" The first prince was motionless like a wooden statue. Withdrawing his gaze, Dong Fangxia said, "Since North-gazing Pearl is so sincere, I will grant your wish and betroth you to my son." North-gazing Pearl had an urge to cry. "You are the one who forced me to marry Su Yu. But why did it sound like I was the one who begged to marry Su Yu?" Those who didn't know better would think that North-gazing Pearl abandoned the first prince and went to the sixth prince. However, she couldn't refute any of this. She had to sincerely thank the emperor for his kindness. "Good. It's decided then. In 10 days, you two will get married, and I will host it personally." At that moment, the eunuch had finished drafting the imperial edict. "Send out the summons. Announce it to the whole territory. Everyone must know that my sixth prince is getting married." Yes, an imperial edict was sent to Beijing. At the same time, the news about the sixth prince and the north-gazing pearl, spread like wildfire. In just a few days, the news had spread like wildfire. From the people in the villages to the powerful officials in the imperial city, everyone was talking about it. "Have you heard? The north-gazing pearl, risked her life to beg to marry the sixth prince. She almost angered His Majesty and caused a great disaster." Chapter 1843. That's strange. I also heard that North Wangzhou was originally engaged to the first prince, but ever since she met the sixth prince, she was so shocked that she couldn't eat or drink. The Beijing family came to His Majesty and begged for a decree. His Majesty only agreed to it because of the Beijing family's contributions. He even rewarded the royal family for this. On the streets of the imperial city, in a luxurious carriage, the north-gazing Pearl's cheeks flushed as she listened. She stomped her feet and gnashed her teeth, saying, "Which rumor-monger started this nonsense? How did it spread like this? When did she plead? Since when did he seek death and hang himself?" What was even more ridiculous was that the whole family of the Beijing family came to the imperial city to plead. It was ridiculous. Someone actually believed it. "Sister, you can't blame others." North Wangting, who was beside her, laughed. "You chose the sixth prince." To be honest, grandfather, father, and big brother were all very surprised. They thought you were really interested in the sixth prince. North Wangzhou's face turned red. I couldn't stand his arrogant attitude. Didn't he just save the Beijing family? Or why did he have to look down on me? He even mouthed to me and said he wasn't interested in me. He told me not to choose him. Brother Wangting, don't you think he's too much? North Wangting couldn't help laughing, but he stared deeply into her eyes. "He is indeed too much, but I'm thinking, when will our calm, steady, and intelligent sister lose her composure and act on her emotions?" "I didn't." North Wangzhou hurriedly defended herself. North Wangting's eyes gradually sharpened, as if he could see through her heart. "Is that so? Then have you noticed that since when did your eyes rarely linger on Big Brother?" North Wangzhou's expression froze. "Second brother, what do you mean?" "You know what I mean," North Wangting said indifferently. "I can see your abnormal feelings for Big Brother. I wanted to stop you, but you've changed. This is all thanks to Su Yu's appearance and that curse." North Wangzhou felt as if she had stepped on air and fallen into a bottomless cliff. The secret she thought only she knew had been seen through by her low-key second brother. "Little sister, be at ease as the sixth prince's bride. I've met him before, or rather, he once saved my life. I know him better than any of you." North Wangting said, "You might still be guessing at the sixth prince's goal and plot in saving our North Exine branch. but I think he just doesn't want to see our Beijing faction get implicated because of him. He is a man of righteousness. If you really marry him, you will be 100 times better than the first prince." The north-gazing Pearl was stunned speechless. "I really like him?" The north-gazing Pearl was perplexed. If it wasn't for her second brother mentioning it, she wouldn't have realized that she rarely paid attention to Bei Wangchun. The feelings she had hidden in her heart in the past had vanished into thin air. Her mind was filled with hatred for him after she woke up from her dream. But now that she thought about it, if she really hated him, why had she never thought of killing him? Was that really hate? Or was he deceiving himself to hide his desire and yearning for the dream? "We're here," said the coachman. North Wang Ting patted her on the shoulder. "Don't think so much, just be a good bride. Come, let's customize your phoenix robe." This was the most famous custom-made clothing shop in the imperial city. Many members of the royal family came here to have their clothes customized. If one didn't have a certain status and identity, they might not receive them. The north-gazing Pearl nodded. Soon after, they took their measurements and left. The boss of the custom-made clothing saw them off with a smile. Looking at their receding figures, a strange look flashed across his face. In the sixth prince's mansion, the royal tailor also came to take Su Yu's measurements and customize the groom's clothes. Su Yu was extremely helpless. He was grounded by Dongfang Xia and was not allowed to leave the palace. In fact, even if he was not grounded, with Dongfang Xia's power, once he left, Dongfang Xia would immediately notice. But until now, Su Yu still couldn't figure out why Dongfang Xia wanted him to marry the north-gazing Pearl. Why was he willing to offend his eldest son in order to facilitate this marriage? He didn't think that Dongfang Xia was simply teasing him. This person was good at planning, and every move he made had a profound meaning. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lured the Corpse Clan, Dongfang Xunlei, and many other potential enemies to one place and annihilated them in one go. His seemingly meaningless actions must have some ulterior motive. After the tailor left, Su Yu simply trained on the spot. In the ruins of the Great Yu, he had obtained many good things. One was the evil dragon Bible, and the other was the dragon's blood. The body that was stolen by the sinful lady has been tempered by the divine blood of the world annihilation dragon and the epic-making dragon. It has also cultivated the evil dragon divine body to the divine body level. What a pity. However, this time I have obtained the evil dragon Bible, which is far more powerful than the evil dragon divine body. The dragon's blood is also the blood of the fire dragon of the four-crowned emperor. The quantity is far more than the dragon's blood tempered in the past. If I continue to train, the effect will be far better than before. Secondly, after absorbing the dragon's blood, the power of the royal power dragon sword could be further enhanced. With that in mind, Su Yu immediately entered a state of isolation. Under the state of time acceleration of 500 times, he took out 2 gourds of dragon's blood and drank it all in one gulp. The bitter and spicy feeling hit him like a flood, and then turned into a flame burning in his body. Even the current Su Yu felt waves of pain from it. This dragon's blood is quite fierce. I wonder if it originated from the fire dragon. Su Yu muttered to himself and began to train with his eyes closed. 3 days later, Su Yu had already spent more than 2 years. The dragon's blood in the 2 gourds had been completely tempered. His skin was fiery red, and dragon scales were faintly visible under his skin, emitting bursts of heat. His eyes were engulfing and spitting flames. At first glance, it was somewhat similar to true Lord Fire Dragon's real dragon Divine Fire. He had seen the power of the real dragon Divine Fire with his own eyes. The body of the four-crowned emperor, evil dragon lord, had been incinerated by the Divine Fire. Su Yu was secretly surprised. He did not expect that tempered divine blood would bring about a faint wisp of real dragon Divine Fire. Although it was not as powerful as true Lord Fire Dragon, it could still easily burn a single crown emperor to death. Even a double crown emperor would lose a layer of skin in the face of this flame. Apart from that, his physical strength had also greatly increased. Compared to the past, his strength had increased tenfold, comparable to when he did not have the law of great strength. Combined with the law of great strength, he should be able to double his previous limit. The Tianyi bow was pulled back 3 inches, and the power that erupted from it would definitely increase dramatically. Of course, the most important thing was the Evil Dragon Bible. After 2 years of training, he had barely reached the lower class of the first stage, Nirvana of the Evil Dragon. He could transform into an evil dragon and fight with his enemies. However, he would only know its specific power after some testing. He had wanted to continue training, but Princess Rukin and Emperor Wu Hen had come to visit. "Congratulations, brother. You have found a marriage," Princess Rukin said with a smile as soon as she saw him. Emperor Wu Hen could not stop smiling. "I really have to congratulate you. The north-facing pearl is a famous beauty of the empire. Many people are envious of her." Suyu invited them in, closed the door gently, and said calmly, "You are not here to congratulate me, are you?" He sat down casually and said, "There is no need to hide our relationship. Just tell me what you have to say." Just when he was upset, the 2 women were being secretive and not as free and easy as they used to be. He was even more displeased. Princess Rukin stuck out her tongue apologetically and massaged his shoulders in an ingratiating manner. "Brother, don't be angry. We were just joking." Emperor Wu Hen also apologized. "We are treating you like an outsider. This time, we have indeed come to ask you something." They were nervous, but they did not know if they should ask. Glancing at them, Suyu knew what they wanted to ask. He sighed and said, "There's no need to guess. Dongfang Xia knows everything. From the moment I, the 6th prince, appeared, he knew I was a fake because he already knew about the fall of the real 6th prince." All of a sudden, the 2 women's beautiful faces turned pale, and they were extremely shocked. Emperor Wu Hen's face was ashen, and he slumped weakly into the chair. "However, you do not have to worry too much. If Dongfang Xia wanted to punish me, would he have let me live until now? Would he have forced me to marry the north-facing pearl in the name of the 6th prince?" So you try to calm him down. He analyzed, "Although my identity is fake, not only did I not do anything to harm the empire, but I also saved the empire's fate. Dongfang Xia should be well aware of this, so he will not blame you." Hearing this, the 2 women thought about it carefully, and their heavy hearts eased. "Sigh, we did not expect things to turn out this way. Now, Mr. Su has suffered, and we have an engagement for no reason." Emperor Wu Hen sighed. Suyu shook his head. "It is not your fault. If you want to blame someone, blame it on me for thinking too simply of Dongfang Xia. Brother, why don't you stay here?" Princess Ru Chun squeezed his shoulders diligently and said with a smile, "Since father pretends not to know anything, let it go on like this. I quite like you, my brother." Suyu rolled his eyes. "Cut it out. How is my current situation any different from being imprisoned? Moreover," he frowned deeply, "I still have to find someone." Princess Ru Chun patted her chest with her small hand. "Don't worry, I will do what I promised you, and help you find those 2 friends." Now that she was the heir to the throne, she had 10 great feudal lands, and powerful officials from all over had come to visit her. It was not a big deal to ask them to help her keep an eye on 2 people. "Don't go, brother," Princess Ru Chun said coquettishly. Suyu patted her hand and sighed with a bitter smile. "Do you think there's any hope for me to leave now?" He could feel a gaze sweeping over from time to time, probing his movements. It was Dongfang Xia, who was staring at him like he was a thief. He did not think that Dongfang Xia would really see him as a son. Such an ambitious and ruthless person would never allow an existence that he could not control to remain by his side. He would definitely take action to get rid of the 6th prince, or use a reasonable method to remove him from the 6th prince's name, so that he would no longer be a threat. This was the question that had been on his mind for the past few days. What was Dongfang Xia up to? "Your Highness, the young princess of the north-gazing pearl and the young prince of the north-gazing pavilion are requesting an audience." "Them?" Suyu sighed. "Let them in." Chapter 1844. "Brother, let me listen too. I won't tell on you," Princess Rukin said coquettishly as she blinked her eyes. Suyu smiled lightly. "You can listen if you want. Maybe she and I will talk about flirting with Feng Wan and Mount Wu. Do you still want to listen?" "Ah!" Princess Rukin screamed, embarrassed and angry. She stamped her feet. "You're so naughty. You're still laughing at me." That day at the Benevolence Palace, Princess Rukin muttered the meaning of the 8 characters with a confused look. When she returned, she was immediately lectured by Emperor Wuhan, who told her what they meant. Only then did she realize that she had made a fool of herself at the Benevolence Palace, and she had no idea what they meant. Now, hearing Su Yu's teasing, she blushed again. She was so angry that she punched him and ran away. A moment later, North Gazing Pearl and North Gazing Pavilion came to visit. "Greetings, 6th Prince." North Gazing Pearl and North Gazing Pavilion bowed in unison. "So you look straight ahead. Is there anything you need from me?" North Gazing Pavilion bowed. Father and grandfather were ordered by the emperor to return to the fief in a hurry. "The 2 of us, brother and sister, would like to express our gratitude to 6th Prince on behalf of the Beishin family." As he spoke, he took out some gifts. "These are some specialties of the Beishin land. I hope 6th Prince will like them," North Gazing said slowly as he put down the gifts in his hands. Su Yu nodded. "Thank you. Put them down." North Gazing rolled his eyes. "I still have matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first." North Gazing Pearl stood up as well, but North Gazing signaled for her to stay. North Gazing Pearl pointed at her own nose. "You want me to stay?" Nodding his head, North Gazing Pavilion left the room, closing the door behind him with a meaningful smile on his face. Only the 2 of them were left in the room. North Gazing Pearl felt uneasy. She looked down at the tips of her shoes, not knowing what to say. "Do you really want to marry me?" So you looked at her and asked. North Gazing Pearl subconsciously puffed out her chest and shook her head. "Of course not. I have the same intention." Su Yu nodded. "If that's the case, you can disappear for now. That way, I don't have to marry you, and you don't have to marry me." North Gazing Pearl frowned. Was he so unwilling to marry her? How was she lacking? Even if he had abnormal feelings for Bei Wangchun in the past, it had never crossed any ethical line. "What right do you have to look down on me?" "That's easy for you to say. After I go missing, what will happen to the Beishin bloodline? Dongfang Xia is temperamental. Who knows what he will do?" North Gazing Pearl said angrily. Su Yu was indifferent. Her reaction was within reason. After remaining silent for a long while, Su Yu said, "North Gazing Pearl, no matter how you felt in the past, you chose to marry me against your own will. But I can't give you a future, and you made a choice that you shouldn't have." He looked straight into the eyes of the North Gazing Pearl and said deeply, "In the near future, I will either die accidentally, disappear from the world, or the title of the 6th Prince will be removed. In short, it won't end well. You should be mentally prepared." He had a feeling that Dongfang Xia would deal with him. The North Gazing Pearl's choice to marry him was perhaps the biggest mistake of her life. "What do you mean?" The other party's tone was sincere. The North Gazing Pearl's anger subsided, and she asked in confusion. "You will understand when the time comes." Su Yu sighed softly as he couldn't tell her the truth. The North Gazing Pearl had a feeling of being kept in the dark, which was very uncomfortable. After thinking it over, she somewhat understood Su Yu's intention. She said coldly, "Humph, you just want to go missing and run away from the wedding to find your 3 female companions, don't you?" Su Yu furrowed his brows. 3 female companions? When he came to the Dayu Empire, the only female friend of the same age as him was Princess Rukin. "Who are you talking about?" Su Yu asked. The North Gazing Pearl snorted. "Think about it yourself." After saying that, she flicked her sleeves and left. Su Yu was left puzzled. 3 female companions. Is it Xia Jingyu and Shenga? But who is the 3rd one? It doesn't seem like he is talking about the 2 of them. The wedding was approaching day by day. In addition to training, Su Yu also started to investigate some puzzling things in the past. In the evening, Bei Wangchun came to visit. Now, he had been appointed as the commander of the Imperial City Guards by imperial decree. He was in charge of the safety of the imperial family and enjoyed a high status, which was even higher than the 10 great conferred kings. It could be said that the bloodline of Beishin had profited from a disaster. "Your Highness, I have found the information you wanted." Bei Wangchun still found it difficult to face Su Yu. It was difficult for him to associate Su Yu, who seemed to be a peak overlord, with a strong man who had crushed him to the point that he couldn't even fight back. Suyu took a stack of information from him and nodded. Thank you. Don't mention it. Compared to the fact that you saved the entire bloodline of Beixin, this is just a small favor. Your Highness, I will take my leave now. Bei Wangchuan came and went like the wind. He was in a much better mood when he left. He had more or less returned the favor he owed. Suyu opened the information and read it in detail. He raised his eyebrows slightly. He had asked Bei Wangchuan to help him get the information from the rewards pavilion because he wanted to know why he had a bounty placed on his head twice. The second bounty was for Dongfang Xunlei. She mistakenly thought that Suyu had killed Xielang, so she was looking for Suyu to take revenge. However, the first bounty was suddenly cut off midway. The person who had placed the bounty had taken the initiative to withdraw it. As Suyu stared at the information on it, a strange look appeared in his eyes. As expected, the Dongfang Divine Tears were not the ones on the two bounties. When the first reward was announced, Suyu was still in the Tao Tai cage, unable to escape. Therefore, the first person who offered a bounty for him was definitely not Dongfang Xunlei. He had not even appeared in the absolute beginning realm at that time. There was no enmity between them. It was definitely not her. In the past, he took it for granted that it was her both times. Now that he was free, he thought about it carefully and realized that there was more to it than met the eye. Now that he checked, there was indeed a problem. Who was looking for me? So he was secretly surprised. At that time, he was still in the Tao Tai cage, so who in the great beginning realm would know him? Unfortunately, a long time ago, the person who posted the bounty had already taken the initiative to withdraw the person who posted the bounty. A trace of doubt lingered in his chest. Time ticked by. The news of the engagement between the Sixth Prince and the North Pronged Pearl spread like wildfire. The government offices of the major fiefdoms, cities, and towns began to hang festive decorations. The imperial city was even more so. After being informed by the imperial guards, all shops along the way were to hang colorful ribbons, firecrackers, and red lanterns. The entire imperial city was bustling with activity. As far as the eye could see, it was a sea of joyous red. Shopkeeper Li. North Wangting came to the tailor's shop where the groom's clothes were custom-made. Is the bride's phoenix robe ready? Haha, it's ready a long time ago. How could I dare to delay the young princess's wedding? Shopkeeper Li took out a space storage device and handed it to North Wangting. North Wangting examined it carefully and confirmed that there were no problems. These are the remaining divine stones. Please count them. He placed a bag containing the divine stones on the counter. Mr. North Wangting, you must be joking. Your presence brings light to my humble shop. How can I not trust you? Shopkeeper Li did not even look at it before putting the small bag away. North Wangting nodded and walked back to his temporary lodging. Shopkeeper Li smiled and watched him disappear from his sight. His smile slowly faded and was replaced by a sly smile. 2 days later, the day of the wedding finally arrived. In the Sixth Prince's mansion, Princess Rukin and Emperor Wuhan helped Suyu put on the groom's clothes. He was already handsome, but now he looked even more spirited. The most handsome groom of the Dayu Empire has been born. Princess Rukin's eyes were twinkling like stars. I want to marry you. What should I do? Suyu was not in a good mood. He calmly said, All right, I'll report to the Emperor immediately and replace you. Will that do? Haha, I don't have your guts to challenge my father, Princess Rukin said with an embarrassed smile. Princess Rukin smiled in embarrassment. However, when she looked at the groom before her, she did feel somewhat upset in her heart. She had grown up alone in the royal family. Her brothers had not been able to give her any warmth, but Suyu, the fake prince, had. If it were possible, she would be very willing to be with him for real, whether as brother and sister or husband and wife. Now that he was going to marry North Wangju, she felt an inexplicable discomfort in her heart. It was as if her favorite thing had been snatched away. She, who had been in high spirits, felt a little downcast. As if he could read her mind, Emperor Wuhan sighed quietly. All right, it's time to go to the Supreme Ling Hall. The young princess of North Wangju will be here soon. Suyu looked at the mirror and sighed inwardly. He had been looking for a chance to escape, but Dongfang Xia had been watching him too closely. Now, he had been forced into a corner. With some difficulty, Suyu arrived at the Supreme Ling Hall, accompanied by Princess Rukin, Emperor Wuhan, and a large number of palace maids. Dongfang Xiao was in high spirits. His face was glowing as he sat in the chief seat. Outside the hall was North Wangzhu, who had just been delivered by Baek Xian's family. She was dressed in a splendid phoenix robe. It was luxurious and well-tailored, and it accentuated North Wangzhu's slender figure. A large red veil covered her delicate and beautiful face. She was only waiting for Suyu to remove the veil when it was time to consummate their marriage. The auspicious hour has arrived. Let the ceremony begin. The bride and groom pay their respects to His Majesty. The two of them entered together. One was handsome, and the other was exquisite. They looked like a perfect match made in heaven. The first prince, the second prince, the third prince, the fourth prince, the fifth prince, and Princess Rukin all had different looks in their eyes. The first prince was the most embarrassed. He was obviously gnashing his teeth with hatred, but he had to pretend to be happy. He watched as the two of them walked past him and came before Dongfang Xia. North Wangzhu offered him a cup of tea. Dongfang Xia accepted it with a smile. He pursed his lips and said, "Wangzhu, from today on, you are a member of the royal family. Here, this is the money for your tea." He took out a small bag. Under the cover of the red veil, North Wangzhu blushed. "Thank you, father." She took it, lowered her head, and glanced at it. Her expression changed. There were a total of 100 dark-colored god stones lying quietly on the ground. Top-grade divine stones. According to the exchange rate, it was 1,000,000 divine stones. The money for this tea was incomparably generous. Dongfang Xia was about to say something, but his gaze suddenly froze. He stared at the phoenix robe on North Wangzhu, and his eyes narrowed. "Your phoenix robe is interesting." Chapter 1845. The north-gazing Pearl was startled. She had a bad feeling about this. At that moment, the phoenix robe she was wearing suddenly burst into flames. The dragon and phoenix patterns embroidered on it emitted thick, dark yellow smoke amidst the flames. The north-gazing Pearl bore the brunt of the smoke and immediately inhaled it. A sense of nausea and pain began to spread from her throat to her body, quickly extinguishing her life force. Poison. Dongfang Xia was right in front of her, but he did not help her. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves and drew back the yellow smoke. The poisoned north-gazing Pearl immediately inhaled a large amount of smoke again. Her vision became blurry, and her remaining rationality told her that she was about to die. She was poisoned to death inexplicably. Bei Wangchun and north-gazing Ting, who were standing outside the tailing hall, discovered her situation and hurried over to rescue her. However, it was too late. Recalling Dongfang Xia's ruthless move, her heart turned cold. The royal family was ruthless, but Dongfang Xia was even more ruthless. Sighing, she closed her eyes in despair. However, the moment she closed her eyes, her soft waist was hugged by a strong arm. At the same time, the phoenix robe on her body was flung away. Immediately after, her body turned around, and she was hugged by a thick and firm chest. The chest was emitting waves of terrifying heat. Wisps of flames entered her skin through her pores and burned inside her body. "Ah!" The north-gazing Pearl groaned in pain and opened her eyes in a daze. Suyu's handsome face had never appeared in front of her so closely before. He stared at the surroundings and said in a low voice, "Don't resist. I will burn the poison in your body with the real dragon divine fire. The process will be a little painful." Suyu's whole body was wrapped in a mass of dark red flames. The yellow smoke that came close to him was immediately burned into nothingness. Suyu could not be poisoned at all. At that moment, the north-gazing Pearl's heart thumped wildly. She had never felt such a throbbing in her heart. It was as if she had suddenly opened a door, or as if her perception of Suyu had suddenly changed. He seemed to have become different. She looked at him in a trance, without blinking. Suyu's eyes were sharp as he glanced around. The tailing hall was filled with yellow smoke. Ordinary people could not see through it at all. His eyes flashed as he activated his transparent eyes, only to find a chill in his heart. From the first prince to Princess Rukin, The moment the yellow poisonous fog appeared, they were protected by Dongfang Xia's unique divine art, unable to harm them at all. Only he and the north-gazing pearl were forgotten by Dongfang Xia. Had he really forgotten? Or was this also a self-directed performance by Dongfang Xia to take the opportunity to get rid of Suyu? Dongfang Xia was nowhere to be seen. At the end of the world, a powerful fluctuation came from the boundless sea. He was very powerful, so powerful that even a two-crown emperor couldn't get close. This was a battle between three crown emperors. Suyu rolled up his sleeves, and the real dragon divine fire on the surface of his body ignited the whole Tai Ling Hall, burning away all the poisonous fog. He looked at the pale-faced Princess Rookin and nodded slightly. "It's good that you're fine." He then looked at the north-gazing pearl in his bosom. Wisps of gray air flowed out from his pores, gradually fading until there was nothing left. He made a grabbing motion and retrieved the true dragon divine flame. "Are you all right?" Bei Wangzhu's snow-white cheeks blushed. She lowered her head and hummed softly, looking as obedient and shy as a bride. After ascertaining that he was fine, Suyu put him down. "Be careful, I'll go take a look." Suyu was about to rush out. A heaven-sent opportunity. To think that a three-crown emperor would cause trouble and entangle Dongfang Xia. If he didn't escape now, when would he? But just as he was about to escape, a cold black light suddenly attacked. The black light was silent and without any fluctuations, nor did it give off a sense of threat. In addition, it was extremely fast. Ordinary people might be caught off guard and be hit. But the threat of fate on Su Yu's chest suddenly shook, and a sense of danger arose. Without hesitation, he shot out countless space blades from his body, forming a wall in front of him. Creak! The black light swept past and was swallowed up by the space blades. However, a large area of the spatial blades turned pitch black. The familiar scene made Su Yu's heart skip a beat. When the second prince's troops tried to kill Empress Wei, one of them was shrouded in a black robe, and his every movement emitted a mysterious black shadow. Any living creature would be petrified at the slightest touch. Its power was exactly the same as the one before him. He, as expected of the sixth prince who has successfully condensed the law of space. Your reaction is extraordinarily fast. In the sky above the Supreme Ling Palace, a figure in a black robe laughed strangely. Suyu's pupils shrank slightly. A two-crown emperor. This person was a two-crown emperor. At the same time, the fluctuations of the duel between two crown emperors came from other places in the palace. It was the empire's three two-crown emperors fighting the invaders. Suyu's heart suddenly sank, and he was extremely shocked. A three-crown emperor, four two-crown emperors, and perhaps many single-crown emperors. What kind of force was this? How could it be so terrifying? They could be seen in the ruins of the Great Yu. That Saint Maiden Union must have sought refuge with them, right? Could it be that, as she said, he had unknowingly provoked an unimaginably powerful force? How could a small two-crown emperor like me dare to be arrogant in front of the sixth prince? You have the record of fighting a two-crown emperor alone. He had investigated Suyu very clearly. Bei Wangchun, who was rushing over, had a fierce look in his eyes. How dare you attack my sister? Don't even think of leaving today. 9 palms returned to 1. The 9 swift and fierce palm prints merged into one and suddenly attacked. The black-robed man laughed disdainfully. I didn't even take you seriously when you were at your peak, let alone now. You don't even have a two-crown emperor, and you still want to pose me? He waved a black light casually, and the 9 palm prints were easily destroyed. The black light penetrated the palm prints and struck Bei Wangchen's chest. His body was petrified in an instant, and he could not move. Immediately after, the black-robed man attacked him casually and killed him. However, a red light flashed around Bei Wangchun, and he was teleported away, appearing beside Suyu. He patted Bei Wangchen's body forcefully, and the black light on the surface of his body dispersed. He said indifferently, "Protect Zhu the princess, and the prince as they retreat. Leave this to me." Bei Wangchun smiled bitterly. A great enemy was in front of him, and he could only cover the escape of others? Nodding his head heavily, he said, "Be careful." As he spoke, he removed the simple divine technique cast on the princess and the prince, allowing them to move freely. "Follow me." Bei Wang Chun smashed the wall of the Supreme Ling Palace with a palm and escaped from the other side. Princess Rukin and the north-gazing Pearl stopped in their tracks, hesitating and unwilling to retreat. Bei Wang Chun looked at Princess Rukin strangely. His younger sister could barely be considered half a princess of the sixth prince. It was understandable that she did not want to leave, but why was Princess Rukin joining in the fun? "Go quickly. If you stay here, he will not be able to focus on fighting the enemy." He dragged the two ladies forcefully, and they finally escaped through the collapsed gap. The black-robed man did not chase after them. He stared straight at Suyu and sneered. "I am here today for you. You ruined our plans, and you even killed our beloved disciple." "Beloved disciple? Who?" "Oh," Suyu said indifferently, and he clenched his fists lightly. It was a good opportunity to test the power of the first style of the Evil Dragon Bible, the Nirvana of the Evil Dragon. If he could hold on, he would test the Tiani Bao. If he could still hold on, he would try the Royal Dragon Sword. There had to be a style that suited him, right? However, a genius like you is extremely rare in our civilization. If you're willing to surrender, it's not that I can't let you live." The black-robed man's tone softened, as if he was ready to let him go. However, just as he finished speaking, his tone suddenly became fierce. "That is a dream." A large mass of black light suddenly shot out from behind him, condensing into a giant palm the size of the Tai Ling Palace, and slammed down with a loud bang. Clang! The Tai Ling Palace was shattered on the spot, leaving behind a pile of rubble. Su Yu's aura quickly faded, and soon there was nothing left. The black-robed man looked a little disappointed. "It seems like the information was wrong. What did you mean by fighting a double-crowned divine warrior? And I could not even withstand one palm strike." He turned to look at the other battlefields where the double-crowned divine warriors were fighting and laughed sinisterly. "Dong Fang Xia thinks he is clever, so why don't we fulfill his wish? Today, we will wipe out the royal family of the Dayu Empire." Before leaving, he waved his large palm and swept away the rubble. "Humph, humph, I will bring your corpse back for the master to see." Unexpectedly, as soon as the rubble was swept away, a deafening roar shook his palm until it was numb. A 1,000-foot-long fire dragon suddenly flew out from the rubble. A terrifying, mighty force knocked his palm back, and even his body was shaken back. The black-robed man was startled and then surprised. "You are the sixth prince?" He stared in disbelief at the existence in front of him that was no different from a real dragon. Without a word, Suyu swiped with his dragon claw. The black-robed man immediately dodged, not daring to take it head-on. But he was still a step too late. His black robe was torn apart by the strong wind from the dragon claw. It revealed an old man who was as shriveled as a skeleton, his eyes flickering with black flames. In between his brows, there was a strange character. Suyu recognized it. It was the language of the Dark Moon clan of the Dark Star civilization. The Dark Moon clan belonged to the middle third class of the 10,000 clans, and their individual combat abilities were abnormally strong. Compared to a naturally weak race like the human clan, there were very few who could defeat the Dark Moon clan at the same level. Someone from the Dark Star civilization. Suyu's eyes narrowed slightly. He had long felt that it was strange for the Dark Star civilization to send emissaries to the Dayu Empire. At this moment, the Dark Star civilization was at a crucial juncture in the fight for the Emperor Killing Sword. All the forces were fighting fiercely. But this batch of emissaries had chosen to stay in the Empire and not leave for a long time. To think that as the rulers and protectors of a 3-star civilization, they would attack the civilization under them. Hee, it's too late for you to know now. The skeletal old man's eyes flashed with flames. Suyu's dragon body immediately burned with pitch-black flames, petrifying his body. Unfortunately, Suyu had obtained the real dragon divine fire. With a gentle shake, the black flames on the surface of his body were swallowed by the real dragon divine fire. The skeletal old man was shocked. He had thought that only Su Yu's space blade was feared, and his innate talent, blacklight, could counter the space blade. Unexpectedly, other than that, Su Yu still had the strange ability to transform into a dragon. Chapter 1846. Anyone who was struck by the saber, even if it touched the skin a little, would be invaded by the vengeful spirit. Even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. Dark Moon's soul blade. The skeletal old man's long blade slashed down, bringing with it a series of cries of resentful spirits, disturbing one's mind. Su Yu's gaze sharpened as he swept his dragon tail. Clang! However, when the bone saber struck the dragon's tail, a series of sparks burst out, but the saber did not manage to cut through the dragon's tail. How is this possible? The skeletal old man stared at the bone blade in front of him in disbelief. Even the Double Crown Emperor would be injured if he took one of his blades. The true dragon that the sixth prince had transformed into was actually so tough. What he didn't know was that the dragon race had always been known for their strong bodies. The evil dragon Saint Monarch lasted 5 to 6 days under the true dragon divine flame before his body was burned to ashes. The skeletal old man was shocked, and he immediately felt that the situation was troublesome. This child was much more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Finally, he gritted his teeth and took out a fist-sized bead. It was filled with countless vengeful spirits. He opened his mouth and bit down, crushing the bead. Then he sucked in all the resentful souls. The black light in his eyes instantly grew 10 times stronger. "Brat, take another strike from me." This strike was more than 5 or 6 times stronger than the previous one. With the evil dragon's small success in Nirvana, it would most likely be cut in half. Real dragon divine fire. Su Yu opened his mouth abruptly and spat out a dark red flame. The bone blade immediately let out mournful howls of pain, and countless resentful souls were burned to ashes. The skeletal old man was shocked. What kind of fire is this? Extinguish your fire. How powerful was the true dragon divine fire? Even though it couldn't compare to a true divine flame, it still wasn't something a dual crown emperor could endure. As the flames burned his body, the skeletal old man immediately roared in pain and hurriedly put out the fire. However, the flames were extremely difficult to extinguish, and even the power of the great desolation could do nothing about it. Seeing the raging flames enter his body, how could the skeletal old man still have the courage to continue fighting? Terrified, he fled toward his companions and shouted, "Tiger Moon, Peak Master, save me." Su Yu's eyes flickered coldly. Trying to escape? With a wave of his tail, he quickly caught up. The huge dragon claw slammed into the skeletal old man's body, causing him to fall to the ground. The skeletal old man crawled up and ran, but he was ruthlessly pressed to the ground by a dragon claw. A powerful true dragon divine flame rose from the dragon claw, roasting the skeletal old man until he screamed miserably. "Is that all you've got?" So you tried using the evil dragon's Nirvana and the real dragon divine flame. Ever since he came to the great beginning realm, his body had always been ordinary. He did not expect that after cultivating the evil dragon Bible, just the toughness of his body alone would allow him to contend against a double crown emperor. Combined with the true dragon divine fire, ordinary double crown emperors would be directly crushed. "Sixth Prince, please be merciful. I don't want to die." The skeletal old man begged. Su Yu's gaze was cold and indifferent. After going through such a long experience, he was naturally not a merciful person. "I'm sorry, I don't want to die." Would letting him go get his gratitude? If Su Yu really believed that, then he would have lived his life in vain. The dragon claw pressed down, and an even more intense flame surged over, completely turning the skeletal old man into a flaming man. With a deafening roar, his body was completely destroyed. A fist-sized soul turned into a stream of light and fled. Su Yu smiled indifferently, a crack appearing between his brows. "Soul, devouring realm. Don't let me go." The voice stopped abruptly. Su Yu captured his soul and sealed it between his brows. He would find a safe place to digest it. He casually grabbed the space storage device that the old man had dropped and turned to leave. But two sharp auras, one in front and one behind, were heading in his direction. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. He withdrew the evil dragon's nirvana and stood quietly in front of a pile of ashes. It was getting closer. It was a tiger-headed man in a black robe, chasing the gray-robed emperor playfully. The latter's body had been destroyed by true Lord Fire Dragon not long ago, and he had barely reassembled it not long ago. His cultivation had not yet recovered to its peak. Moreover, he was from the middle-class Dark Moon clan. How could he defeat him? A pitch-black wound the size of a bowl could be seen on his chest. It could not heal, and the wound was still spreading in all directions. Even without the tiger-headed emperor's pursuit, he would not be able to live for long. The gray-robed emperor looked down and saw Suyu standing there with his hands clasped behind his back. He could not help but shout, "Sixth Prince, why haven't you escaped?" He had seen Bei Wangshun leading the princess and the princes to the west of the palace. How could he leave Suyu behind? Without Bei Wangshun's protection, any single crowned emperor could take his life. Sixth Prince? The Skeleton Peak Master did not do his job well. He actually allowed you to escape here. Humph! The Tiger Moon Peak Master snorted, casually shooting a black light towards Suyu. But Suyu did not move an inch. He had no intention of dodging. The gray-robed emperor clenched his teeth and flew over. He grabbed Suyu under his armpit and escaped. He said bitterly, "You can only follow me, but I cannot hold on for long. I'm afraid I cannot protect you." Perhaps Dongfang Xia had many things that Suyu despised, but he was right about one thing. The prosperity of the Yu Empire did not depend on the 9 cauldrons. It depended on him, the princes, and the loyal officials. The gray-robed emperor was undoubtedly such a loyal official. Even in death, he was still loyal to the royal family. When he was pretending to be the 6th prince, the gray-robed emperor had protected him many times. Sighing, he said, "This time, it is my turn to protect you." A layer of red dragon scales appeared on his arms. His body was surrounded by the law of giant strength. He pulled his arms back, barely pulling 3 inches away. His current body was strong, comparable to a double-crowned emperor, but he could only pull 3 inches away. But it was enough. In the past, he could kill a single crowned emperor with 1 inch. Now, 3 inches, the arrow was knocked on the bow, aimed at the Tiger Moon Peak Master who was hot on his heels. He was laughing coldly when he suddenly realized something. His hair stood on end. He immediately stopped in his tracks and stared at the exaggerated giant bow in horror. A strong sense of life and death enveloped his heart. His years of battle instinct made him react decisively. Without a second word, he turned and fled immediately. But Suyu had already loosened the bowstring. With a strong whooshing sound, the arrow flew out. In the past, it would leave a black shadow in the air. But this time, it did not even leave a shadow. The Tiger Moon Peak Master's head was immediately penetrated by the arrow and exploded like a watermelon. At the same time, a small soul screamed and fled. Another crack appeared between Suyu's brows. As it opened and closed, the soul was devoured. Witnessing this scene, the gray-robed emperor's scalp went numb. He was horrified. The Tiger Moon Peak Master, who had beaten him half to death, was killed with a single blow. Suyu sucked the air and took away the Tiger Moon Peak Master's space storage device. "Let's go to the next place," he said calmly, as if he was giving an order. The gray-robed emperor nodded subconsciously. "Oh, okay." The fluctuations of the double-crowned emperor's battle were extremely strong and easy to find. The emperor of the empire, who was struggling to hold on at the 2nd place, was pleasantly surprised. "Gray robe, which one did you kill? Quick, come and lend me a hand." The gray-robed emperor's mouth twitched. He wanted to kill them, but did he have the ability to do so? Suyu stood beside him. Without batting an eyelid, he pulled open the Tiani bow and shot an arrow. As expected, the double-crowned emperor from the Dark Moon clan was also killed with a single arrow. His soul wanted to escape, but it was caught by the gray-robed emperor and handed to Suyu respectfully. Suyu stuffed it between his brows and nodded. Next place. The emperor, who had escaped death, stared at Suyu's back in fear. He whispered, "Gray robe, what's going on?" "The 6th prince." The gray-robed emperor smiled bitterly. Don't ask too much, just follow him. Let's see what it means to kill a double-crowned emperor, like killing a dog. Killing a dog? The emperor was not convinced, but he could not help but shudder as he recalled the scene of the emperor, who had suppressed him to the point of suffocation, dying with a single arrow. The two of them stood on the left and right, as if they were servants. Those who did not know better would have thought that they were accompanying the emperor of the Du Empire. The third place was also finished with a single arrow. The third emperor was also dumbfounded. His situation was even more dangerous, and his body was almost destroyed. In the end, he was killed by Su Yu's arrow before he could even react. Su Yu was very satisfied with the souls of the 4 double-crowned emperors from the Dark Moon clan. In this way, after devouring their souls, his own soul would skyrocket and reach an extremely high level. The final cultivation technique of the 6th stage of the Heaven Sun gazing at air would definitely appear. In addition, there were also the treasures of the 4 double-crowned emperors, which would surely be very shocking. Suddenly, a terrifying wave came from the end of the sky. Looking from afar, Dongfang Xia was fighting a black-robed man in the sky, his hair flying in anger. It could be seen that Dongfang Xia was at a disadvantage, while the black-robed man was very relaxed. Haha, if you had trained for another 1,000 years, I might still be a little afraid of you. A newly advanced triple-crown emperor is nothing in front of me. The black-robed man struck with his sharp claws. His 5 fingers were entwined with the chain of law, which shattered Dongfang Xia's shoulder. He roared in pain. His face was covered in blood, and his facial features looked extremely hideous. The moon-worshipping cult has really put in a lot of effort in order to seize the Du Empire. You secretly funded my banished sister and failed to seize the empire. Now you, the moon-worshipping cult, have come in person. Hearing this, Su Yu suddenly understood. In the past, when Xianyue Langjun broke into the palace and kidnapped the 3 empresses, Dongfang Xia and the 3 guardian emperors were all entangled by mysterious strong men. Their strength was extremely high, and they should be the double-crowned emperors. It was very likely that they were the 4 emperors that Su Yu had killed today. Dongfang Xia's plan was to catch all of them in one fell swoop. Dongfang Divine Lei was probably just a cover. What he really wanted to get rid of were the mysterious strong men who secretly supported Dongfang Divine Lei. However, they did not show up. Therefore, Dongfang Xia created another plan. He used the wedding of Su Yu and the north-gazing pearl to deliberately lower the vigilance of the palace. This was why he insisted on marrying Su Yu and the north-gazing pearl, and why he wanted to get married within 10 days. He wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only could he lure out the mastermind behind Dongfang Divine Lei, but he could also use them to get rid of Su Yu openly. After that, he would publish an obituary saying that the 6th prince had been sacrificed heroically. However, Dongfang Xia never dreamed that the one supporting Dongfang Divine Lei was not an ordinary force, but the moon-worshipping cult from the Dark Star civilization. What was even more unexpected was that the moon-worshipping cult had come in person. His strength was far above Dongfang Xia's. Chapter 1847. Recently, Su Yu had familiarized himself with the collections of various extraterrestrial civilizations and had gained a certain understanding of the Dark Star civilization. The main race of the Dark Star civilization was the Dark Moon race. They belonged to the middle 3rd tier among the thousands of races in space. Their cultivation talent was great, especially when they were born with the Dark Moon Divine Light. The living beings and objects that were hit would usually become petrified, stiff, and other symptoms, and then they would be easily killed. Within the range of the Dark Star civilization's radiation, there were many civilizations under their jurisdiction. Among them, the 3-star civilizations were basically created by the Dark Moon race. There were very few other races. In history, there was once an incident where a 3-star civilization outside of their race was destroyed overnight. To be exact, he disappeared overnight and never appeared again. It was as if it had never existed. Although he did not know what exactly happened, there was a vague shadow of the Dark Moon race in the records. The moon-worshipping cult was one of the 10 great organizations of the Dark Star civilization. Although it was ranked at the bottom, it was extremely powerful. The sect master was a triple crown emperor. There were 10 double crown emperor elders, and there were more than 100 single crown emperors. They occupied a region and recruited believers. Their influence was extremely extensive. For many years, they had been targeting the Yu Empire for some unknown reason. Looking at Dongfang Xia's wounded face and the fact that he was at a disadvantage, the 3 country-guarding emperors were extremely worried and anxious. However, it was useless for them to participate in the battle between the 3 crown emperors. Instead, they would affect Dongfang Xia. After Su Yu finished reading, he turned around expressionlessly and walked toward the 6th prince's mansion. "Sixth prince, where are you going?" The gray-robed sovereign exclaimed in surprise. He looked at the mysterious Tianyi Bao in his hand and said, "Sixth prince, please help his majesty." Save him? Was that even possible? Dongfang Xia had been scheming against Su Yu in every way. He could not wait for Su Yu to die in the Dark Star Civilization's conspiracy. Would he save Dongfang Xia? Now that Dongfang Xia was suppressed and could not raise his head, it was the right way to escape. There is nothing I can do in a fight between the 3 crowned divine warriors. Su Yu did not even turn his head. I will go and see how my sister and the others are doing. Without waiting for the 3 of them to ask him to stay, he immediately fled. At the same time, Dongfang Xia's Bai West sect leader landed on the ground. A 10 million zhang deep pit was dug out of the ground, and a large amount of underground energy veins were flowing in it. Haha, how sad. Even your son has abandoned you. Dongfang Xia, raise your hands and surrender. You are no match for me. The worshipping moon sect leader looked relaxed. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back and stared at Dongfang Xia, who was getting more and more injured. Dongfang Xia snorted coldly, turned around, and fled into the earth vein. What's the point of doing useless things? You can't escape. The corners of Baiyu's mouth curled up into a playful smile as he chased after him in a flash. Su Yu returned to the 6th prince's mansion and packed up his things. Right now, the imperial palace was in chaos. The eunuchs and palace maids were fleeing everywhere to avoid the Dark Moon race's pursuit. The gates of the imperial palace had long since fallen. This was the best time to escape from the imperial palace and leave through the borders of the imperial city. Just as he was about to rush out, a series of light shouts came from the princess's residence next door. It was Bei Wangchun. Creasing his brows, Su Yu had no choice but to fly to the sky above the princess mansion and look down. 4 moon-worshipping disciples with single crown emperors were besieging Bei Wangchun, the first prince, and the others. Bei Wangchun and the first prince were barely able to resist the joint attack of the 4 of them, but it was barely enough. The first prince's leg had been hit by a black light, and parts of it were petrified. Bei Wangchun was barely able to protect himself. Once he died, Princess Rukin and the other princes would be at the mercy of others. How troublesome! But because of his relationship with Princess Rukin, he naturally would not stand idly by. He pulled open the Tianyi Bao and shot an arrow casually. One of the moon-worshipping disciples with single crown emperors died tragically on the spot. Then he shot another arrow. When the second disciple died, the remaining 2 disciples fled in terror. But they could not escape Su Yu's arrow and were shot to death. After resolving the crisis, Su Yu stood on the city wall and frowned. "Why are you still in the imperial palace?" Bei Wangchun shattered the black light with a palm strike. He said in a low voice, "The imperial palace is filled with the strong martial artists of the Dark Moon race. We had nowhere to escape to. We were forced here by a few emperors." Su Yu frowned slightly. "The imperial palace is dangerous. The fiefdom should be much safer. Why didn't you use the transportation portal used by the imperial family? Could it be that the place was destroyed too?" "No." Bei Wangchun's face was gloomy. "But when I sent a message to my father, I learned that he received an order from Dongfang Xia to seal the entrance and exit of the imperial city. It has been 8 days since then. The fiefdom has no extra power to protect us. If they stayed in the imperial palace, they could still make use of the various seals in the imperial palace. But if they returned to the fiefdom, their deaths would be hastened." "Sealed again? Or was it 7 or 8 days ago?" In other words, it was after the imperial edict of marriage was issued. Dongfang Xia was indeed scheming again. He wanted to use the same trick to capture all the moon-worshipping disciples lurking in the Dayu civilization. His unintentional action had put Su Yu in trouble again. How could he leave the empire if the borders were sealed? Su Yu nodded and glanced at Princess Rukin. Be careful. As he spoke, he turned to leave. Where are you going? Bei Wangzhu asked. She was still wearing a bright red wedding gown. Su Yu was expressionless. Leaving the Du Empire. There was no need to hide anything now. He looked at Bei Wangzhu. I'm not the real sixth prince, and Dongfang Xia will not allow me to live for long. So I reminded you that marrying me might be the worst decision you have ever made in your life. That day's warning had become a prophecy. The wedding was stopped midway, and she was almost poisoned to death. Even if she survived this, there was a high chance that she would not be able to marry in the future. The saddest thing was that she could have become a princess of the imperial family, but now she was nothing. What? Not the real sixth prince? Other than Bei Wangchun, who was shocked, the first prince, the second prince, and the others were calm and unsurprised. Especially the first prince, who had a strange look in his eyes. Why were his brothers so willing to hand over the fate of the nation to him after he had seized it? It was because the first prince had said something to them. The identity of a sixth prince is fake. In the ruins of the Du Empire, when the evil dragon lord triggered the seal in the body of the late emperor, everyone except Su Yu was unaffected. The evil dragon lord had bluntly pointed out that he was not of the bloodline of the Eastern royal family. Even though they had not noticed it due to the pain of the seal, their people had all heard it. Because of this, the five princes had joined forces and treated the sixth prince as an outsider who was plotting to usurp the throne. Princess Rukin was not surprised. She sighed silently. After revealing the truth, he really could not stay. A trace of sadness flashed across her heart. Bei Wangzhu was a little surprised, but not too surprised. She had suspected Su Yu's identity from the very beginning. Mingling with the Corpse clan and seizing the Dragon Cauldron did not seem like something a prince of the greater empire would do. She stared at Su Yu with a burning gaze. I do not regret it. What? Su Yu was startled. The north-gazing pearl broke into a smile. Choosing you is my greatest fortune. When she was poisoned, Su Yu had saved her. At that moment, she felt her heart beating wildly for the first time. She understood that that was true love. But I cannot give you a future, just as I said. Su Yu sighed silently. He had offended another girl for no reason. I will not go with you. Strangely, Bei Wangzhu smiled faintly. Her smile was a little lonely and envious. I know that if you want to find them, you can't take me with you. Su Yu was silent. Didn't you want to ask where they went? Let me tell you. Bei Wangzhu said bitterly. The Pearl Corpse King went to the Sinful Lady Palace. The beautiful woman named Xia Jingyu and Shunga went to the Divine Lady Clan. You are looking for them, and they are looking for you. Well, they mistakenly thought that you had died at the hands of the Sinful Lady Palace. Su Yu's pupil shrank, and a rare look of joy appeared on his face. It was a joy that came from the bottom of his heart. Xia Jingyu and Shunga were not dead, but why were they with Zhuji? They must have been imprisoned by Zhuji before. She released them after you died. She wanted to have one more person in this world who would remember you. I am one of them. Bei Wangzhu suddenly felt that the curse was not necessarily a misfortune. Without batting an eyelid, she swiped her finger across the storage ring and crushed the divine herb that could dispel the curse into nothingness. Zhuji, Su Yu murmured with mixed feelings. He had thought that Zhuji was just acting on a whim, but after his death, she sought revenge on the Sinful Lady Palace like a moth flying into a flame. She said that if she dies and comes back to life one day, she would like us, who remember you, to tell her that she loved a man called Su Yu in her previous life. The north-gazing Pearl hated Zhuji to the core, but when she repeated her words at this moment, she felt sad and touched. In the face of love, Zhuji regarded herself as lowly as a speck of dust. As she said, she only wanted to be a vine that reached the sky. She did not ask for the big tree to look her in the eye, but only to grow together with it. Even if she had to endure wind, frost, rain, and thunder, she did not regret it. She was willing to endure it. If she is still alive, please don't let her wait for her next life. After saying that, Bei Wangzhu slowly closed her eyes, and tears streamed down the corners of her eyes. Compared to Zhuji, she did not dare to mention her so-called love at all. It was too pale. I will find her. Su Yu's heart sank. He cupped his fists and bowed deeply. Thank you for telling me. I will leave now. After saying that, he turned around and left. He chose a slightly secluded place and slashed out a large hole with his sword, revealing the earth veins under the palace. Without saying a word, he went into it immediately. Then, he came to the ancient Fuyao formation with ease. He slapped the wall with his palm, and a large number of deep veins appeared immediately. Perhaps Dongfang Xia never dreamed that I would have a copy of the Star Stone and Star Map. His palm changed shape, and a golden box appeared. When he was looking for Huan Yu Longjuan's cavern, he found 3 things in a secret mechanism: the Tianyi Bao, the Fu Luo earth core in a silver box, and a mysterious object in a golden box, a black stone, and a scroll covered with dots and lines. He did not know what the latter was until Huan Mei personally demonstrated its use. It was the Star Stone and Star Map. Chapter 1848. Without another word, Su Yu pasted the star map onto the pattern. The pattern immediately distorted, and a spiraling vortex appeared in the center of the formation. It was just big enough to fit a starstone in. Just as Su Yu was about to put it in, a beautiful figure suddenly rushed over from afar. It was none other than Princess Rukin. Her small face was flushed, and her voluptuous breasts were swaying up and down, looking very alluring. "Why are you here?" Su Yu asked in surprise. Princess Rukin panted, gasping for air as she said, I want to go with you, brother." Su Yu furrowed his brows. "Are you sure you didn't say anything wrong?" "Yes." Princess Rukin's eyes were filled with seriousness. Su Yu said seriously, "I want to go to the Dark Star civilization, which is very dangerous. If you follow me, it will only bring you harm." Princess Rukin's snow-white face was slightly flushed, and she said shyly, "Brother, I have thought it through. In life, one should enjoy one's achievements to the fullest. If you leave this time, we might never meet again. I don't want to spend the rest of my life regretting it." She expressed her affection in a single sentence. Su Yu's heart softened, and he said, "What about your position as the crown prince? You have spent your entire life's work to finally get what you want. Isn't it a pity to give it up just like that?" Princess Rukin shook her head, her gaze becoming even more resolute. "I only got the position of the crown prince to avenge my mother and uncle. Now that my enemies have been killed by you, the position of the crown prince is no longer important." She was willing to give up a great empire for him. Su Yu's heart softened, and he gently stroked her head. "Silly girl, is it worth it? As you said, I still have to find another woman, so I can't take you with me." Princess Rukin's face was flushed, and she lowered her head. Without a word, she threw herself into Su Yu's arms and said in a low voice, "I just want to stay by your side forever. Be it your sister or your wife, it's up to you." As he listened to her soft and affectionate words and felt the softness in his arms, Su Yu nodded and pushed her away lightly. He then said, "Fine, I'll take you with me, but before I leave, I'll give you a gift." Princess Rukin's face became even redder. She lowered her head and shyly stared at her toes, looking like a young girl yearning for love. A dim light flickered in Su Yu's palm, and the ice-cold azure sword fell into his palm. The gentle expression on Su Yu's face was replaced by a fierce and deep murderous intent. He thrust the azure sword in his hand toward Princess Rukin's chest mercilessly. Everything happened very suddenly. No one would have thought that Su Yu, who doted on Princess Rukin, would attack her. Moreover, it was a fatal blow. That ruthlessness and decisiveness was like a completely different person. The tip of the sword quickly reached her chest. She lowered her head and didn't even have time to react. Just as Princess Rukin was about to die, a horrifying scene ensued. Princess Ru Chen's 2 fingers moved like lightning, easily catching the tip of the azure sect sword. No matter how much force Su Yu exerted, he could not pierce through it. She lowered her head so that her expression could not be seen clearly, but her voice became unusually cold and serene. Hee, what a great gift. I am flattered. That voice was not Princess Rookin at all. Suyu snorted coldly. A layer of red scales appeared on his arms, and his body was surrounded by the law of giant strength. The Azura sword in his hand stabbed out with 10 times the strength. Chi! The tip of the sword broke free from Princess Rookin's fingers and pierced her chest. However, the sword had only pierced through her clothes. It had not even pierced through her skin. Suyu was shocked. "Who are you?" he asked. The other party was not Princess Rookin at all. Princess Rookin raised her head. Her eyes had become extremely deep, and she had an evil smile on her face. "Why don't I ask first, how did you see through me? I thought that I had a clear grasp of everything about Princess Rookin, and there would not be a single flaw in my disguise." As she spoke, she flicked her finger lightly and sent the Azura sect sword flying. Suyu's hand went numb, and the long sword almost slipped out of his hand. The other party's terrifying abilities were definitely not inferior to Dongfang Xia's. Suyu's mind raced as he said, "You were wrong from the very beginning." "How was I wrong?" Princess Rookin had a faint smile on her face. Firstly, Princess Rookin would not get rid of Emperor Wuan. What she values most is kinship. That is her nature. However, you did not mention a word about Emperor Wuan's whereabouts or whether he is safe or not. Secondly, the terrain of the Earth Meridian is extremely complicated. It is like a maze. How could Princess Rookin have chased after him alone? From the very beginning, Suyu had known that the one who had chased after him was not Princess Rookin, or rather, it was another Princess Rookin. He had felt that Princess Rookin was very strange a long time ago. Sometimes she was confused, but at other times, her eyes were filled with a frighteningly deep gaze. Because of this, he had even secretly probed Princess Rookin's soul. He had not discovered that she was being controlled by another consciousness. Only then did he gradually forget about it. He had not expected that there was something wrong with her body, and that there was another consciousness. "I see." Princess Rookin's lips curled. "I was careless. I chased after you when I saw you heading straight for the Earth Meridian. I did not take care of these minor details." She had indeed chased after the star stones and the star map. Suyu calmly said, "Then, who are you?" Hearing this, Princess Rookin smiled evilly. 2 golden, fleshy horns slowly grew from her forehead. She said meaningfully, "You are holding the revered dragon sword, the royal power of the Dragon Clan's royal family. But you are asking me who I am? Brother, don't you find this funny? Dragon horns." So you turned pale with fright. He had once obtained the epic-making dragon's horns, so he was very familiar with them. "I really did not expect you to be from the Dragon Clan, and a member of the Dragon Clan's royal family." So you stared deeply at Princess Rookin. The shock in his heart was indescribable. Princess Rookin calmly said, "To be precise, you should call me Princess. I am the Dragon Emperor's 3rd dragon daughter, Princess Linglong." And a princess. He no longer had the time to ask why her consciousness had appeared in Princess Rookin's body. This was because Princess Linglong's eyes were releasing wisps of murderous intent. "Give me the Star Stone and the revered dragon sword." Princess Rookin looked at Suyu intently and said, "I do not wish to kill you. This little girl's feelings for you are real. If I really kill you and she tries to commit suicide, it will be a big problem for me. However, you must not go against my will. Normally, anyone who steals the Dragon Clan's treasures will definitely die, let alone the revered dragon sword." Princess Rookin's temperament was ice cold. "I have already spared your life for the little girl's sake. Otherwise, I would have killed you the moment you took out the revered dragon sword." So you held the star stone in his hand, glancing at the half-activated ancient Fuyao formation. He hesitated. "Don't make me say it again," Princess Linglong said coldly. At that moment, Suyu, who was hesitating, suddenly unfurled the yin-yang wings on his back. With a light flap, he disappeared into thin air. Princess Linglong came to a sudden realization. She said angrily, "How dare you trick me?" Suyu's questions were meant to buy time. He secretly took out the advanced-level yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. The revered dragon sword and starstone were related to his life and situation. How could he hand them over so easily? With a teleportation, he escaped. Princess Linglong grabbed the air and pulled the star map back. With a flash of her eyes, pink flames rushed out and burned through the countless earth veins above her head, revealing the outside world. Let's see where you can run to. Princess Linglong's figure flashed as she dashed out, searching for Suyu. Her lips then turned cold as she locked onto his direction. Feeling the aura locking onto him, Suyu was extremely depressed. The last time he had used the ancient Fuyao formation, he had almost escaped, but Dongfang Xia had appeared. This time, he had almost escaped again, but the daughter of the Dragon Emperor had appeared. Not only that, but he had also lost the star map. Without the star map, he could not use the ancient Fuyao formation. What was even more infuriating was that the daughter of the Dragon Emperor was chasing after him. With a flash, he flew out of the palace. Along the way, several single-crowned emperors from the Dark Moon clan had sent Suyu, but they were being chased by the three emperors, unable to catch up. They watched as Suyu flew out of the palace. All of a sudden, a ferocious 1,000-foot-long water dragon rushed over from near the palace gates. It said fiercely, "Brat, you have finally come out. I have been waiting for you for a long time." Suyu was stunned. He only remembered who the water dragon before him was. The first time he had ridden a meteorite to the Diyu Empire, he had encountered an emperor-level water dragon along the way. He had searched everywhere for the method to control the meteorite, saying that he was crafting a secret treasure that could allow him to travel through the void. He had also targeted Suyu. It had been a few years, but this water dragon was still thinking about Suyu. Now that the palace was in chaos, he had taken the opportunity to ambush and attack Suyu. Suyu could not help but feel a little amused. Was this necessary? Why was he so persistent? Without even looking, the scales on Suyu's right hand flashed, and a dragon claw struck out. The water dragon emperor was stunned. Wasn't that a dragon claw? When he came to his senses, he hurriedly used his claws to block, but Suyu's claw shattered half of his body. You... The water dragon emperor could not believe it. It was as if he was about to eat a sheep, only to find out that the sheep was the tail of a tiger. The water dragon emperor was scared out of his wits, turning to flee. Suyu laughed coldly. "Since you are here, why are you leaving?" He clawed through the air, shattering the other half of the dragon's body. A water dragon's soul hurriedly escaped, but Suyu grabbed it and stuffed it between his eyebrows. In that moment of delay, Princess Linglong's aura was much closer. This woman, Suyu was furious. He once again activated the advanced yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole and quickly fled. Princess Linglong, who was about to catch up, was once again left behind. She could not help but grit her teeth in anger. This damned bastard. Gritting her teeth, she gave chase again. The two of them chased each other from the imperial city to the fiefdom, and from fiefdom to fiefdom. Princess Linglong was unbelievably powerful, but she seemed to be relying on some kind of secret technique. After all, Princess Rooken's body only had this little bit of cultivation. As time went on, her body gradually showed signs of collapsing. Suyu was not much better. The advanced yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole was a bottomless pit of divine power. He had used it 4 times, and almost half of it had been used up. If they continued to chase, he would not be able to hold on for long. The two of them chased, unknowingly covering half of the empire, and finally returned to the imperial city. At the same time, deep in the earth vein, the Baiwa sect leader had crushed Dongfang Xia to the point where he could not fight back, and the latter's injuries were worsening. It looked like he would either surrender or die here today. You don't know what's good for you. The Baiwa sect leader attacked again. Strangely, Dongfang Xia no longer put up a fearless resistance. He simply remained motionless, an enigmatic sneer on his face. Chapter 1849. Sect Leader Baiyu. Don't tell me you think that I didn't prepare anything for you? Dongfang Xia smiled strangely. Since he had already investigated that it was the moon-worshipping cult that supported Dongfang Shenlei, how could he not guard against the arrival of the moon-worshipping cult leader? The Reverend's moon sect leader was startled. He narrowed his eyes and looked around. Hee. Did you think that the imperial palace of the Diyu Empire was built on countless earth veins without any purpose? Dongfang Xia stood up, and the smile on his face deepened. Sek Master Baiwe, say goodbye. You should regret provoking me and the Diyu dynasty. His palms turned into claws and grabbed the ground, pulling out countless twisting earth veins. Dongfang Xia's palms crazily absorbed the power of the earth veins and converged into an energy ball the size of a pigeon's egg. In an instant, no less than 1,000 earth veins were sucked dry. The energy ball in his palm was abnormally powerful. The Lord of the Moon worshipping sect stared at the pigeon egg energy ball, his eyelids twitching slightly. Extracting earth veins. This is the unique, innate, divine technique of the blood crystal race. All the middle-tier races and above had innate talents. The Dark Moon race possessed the black light that could petrify and stiffen people, and the blood crystal race, which was of the upper third tier, was no exception. However, the blood crystal race was very mysterious. For many years, the moon-worshipping cult had tried to find out what kind of talents the Eastern royal family was good at. But apart from using blood to grow blood bodhi, they had never heard of any special abilities. But now, Dongfang Xia had actually used his human body to directly extract the earth veins, causing a trace of panic to appear in his heart. Hee. You didn't expect it, did you? No one in the imperial family has ever used it, but you're the first one. Dongfang Xia sneered. He grabbed with his right hand and extracted a large amount of earth veins power. The pigeon egg-sized whirlwind in his palm thickened to the size of a fist. A destructive power was roaring in it, about to erupt. The Reverence Moon sect leader sensed the danger and slowly retreated. Dongfang Xia snickered. I was heavily injured by you to lure you into the earth vein. Do you think I would let you go? Chaotic dance of earth vein. Rumble. In an instant, the entire underground vein seemed to have come to life, turning into countless twisting snakes that blocked off all paths of retreat. The Reverence Moon sect leader didn't dare to stay any longer. With a single punch, he shattered a large portion of the earth veins and tried to escape. Since the talent of the blood crystal race was the earth vein, as long as they left this place, Dongfang Xia would not be a threat. His wishful thinking was good, but who was Dongfang Xia? How could an ambitious and ruthless person who was good at scheming let him off so easily? Earth vein overlapping. The remaining earth veins suddenly twisted together, squeezing and compressing each other crazily. The 10,000 zhong deep earth veins were compressed to 100 zhong, becoming extremely solid. The Reverence Moon sect leader attacked, but he couldn't break through. At the same time, Dongfang Xia held a fist-sized energy ball in his hand and attacked with a grim smile. Sect Master Baiyu, I'll return everything you've given me just now. The power of the earth vein, which had been compressed to the limit, erupted like a volcano. The sect leader's scalp went numb, and he turned around to resist. Praying moon divine light. A black moon appeared above his head, shooting out large amounts of black light, petrifying everything around him. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the entire earth vein had turned pitch black. However, Dongfang Xia was the only one who was enveloped by the power of the earth veins. He was like a bright sun rising against the light. Black and white collided in the depths of the earth vein. Bang! The palace on the ground was instantly shattered into nothingness, and a large number of eunuchs and maids were directly killed. Even the eldest prince and the others with cultivation were sent flying into the sky, their blood and chi tumbling inside their bodies, and they were all injured. Lowering his head, he saw a shockwave visible to the naked eye spreading out in all directions with the royal palace as the center. When the shock wave left the range of the palace, it was no longer suppressed by the solid earth vein and exploded at a speed 10 times faster than before. Rather than saying the entire imperial city was shattered, it would be more accurate to say that it was destroyed by the shock wave. Countless houses, livestock, and even human beings were all killed. The powerful shock wave did not lose its momentum, and it rushed out of the imperial city. Wherever it passed, everything was destroyed. Far away at the border, the northern mountain land and the snow lion land felt a deep tremor. Catastrophic earthquakes occurred all over the country, and the casualties were immeasurable. At the source of the world-shaking disaster, Dongfang Xia stared coldly at a human-shaped hole in half of the Reverence Moon sect leader's body. In a battle of strength, the power of the Earth Vein was far superior to that of the Reverence Moon sect leader. Half of the Reverence Moon sect leader's body was smashed, and he was severely injured. However, he detonated the Black Moon and forcefully blasted a hole in the Earth Vein above his head. "Humph! Do you think you can escape?" Dongfang Xia sneered and chased after him. They were both 3 crown emperors, but now that the other party was heavily injured, he was no longer a threat. Unbeknownst to him, not long after he left, the upper half of his body, which was shrouded in black light, quietly drilled deeper into the Earth Vein. At the same time, as soon as Suyu arrived at the Imperial Palace, he witnessed the earth-shattering shock wave with his own eyes. His transparent eyes scanned the ground, and his expression changed. A large portion of the Earth Vein withered again, and the remaining Earth Vein was less than half of what it was the last time he came. He did not know if it could sustain the activation of the ancient Fuyao formation again. What shocked him even more was that Dongfang Xia had come out. Dongfang Xia glanced over and noticed Suyu. However, he quickly glanced past him and did not take him seriously. In other words, his main purpose now was to execute the Baiwa sect master. Suyu would deal with him later. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. He had never expected Dongfang Xia to be so powerful. He was obviously at a disadvantage, but he still managed to turn the tables. He had to go. If he didn't leave now, he might never be able to leave the Dayu Empire. Chirp! Princess Linglong chased after him with a frosty expression. Suyu hesitated for a moment, but he stood still and did not try to escape. Hand over the Star Stone and the Royal Dragon Sword. Princess Linglong chased after him and used her divine technique without hesitation. Suyu did not hide or evade. He calmly said, "If you and I continue to chase after each other, I'm afraid neither of us will be able to leave the Dayu Empire." Princess Linglong's gaze swept over the area. She seemed to have sensed the great changes in the Earth Vein. Her beautiful pupils shrank slightly, and her pretty face became gloomy. Regardless of whether you want to take back the Royal Dragon Sword, at least at this moment, we are of the same mind. If we continue to fight, Dongfang Xia will return, and neither of us will be able to leave. Do you think I'm afraid of him? Princess Linglong clenched her teeth and sneered. Suyu calmly said, "If you're not afraid, why did you only dare to hide? And you only dare to reveal your true self now, taking advantage of the chaos? I'm guessing that even though you have a powerful cultivation base, you can't maintain it for too long. That's why you've been enduring until now, right?" Princess Linglong's eyes flickered, as if Suyu had seen through her. Indeed, even though she had powerful abilities, with Princess Rooken's frail body, she could not even use 30% of her abilities. She could still kill her enemy in a short period of time, but against someone of Dongfang Xia's level, if they were to engage in a prolonged battle, she would definitely be defeated. Hence, Princess Linglong had been enduring all these years, not daring to reveal any of her abilities in front of Dongfang Xia. Now that she had spent so much energy chasing after Suyu, she was almost at her limit. If she continued to chase after him, her consciousness would fall into a deep slumber again, and Princess Rooken would take control of her body. That would be a huge problem. After some consideration, she nodded. "Fine. Anyway, the Royal Dragon Sword won't be with you for just a day or two. I'll leave it with you for a few more days." The two of them came to an agreement. Without another word, they chose a shattered Earth Vein and quickly entered it. The terrain of the Earth Vein was vastly different from what she remembered. Princess Linglong frowned, but did not hesitate. It was as if she was born with it, and she was extremely familiar with the Earth Vein. Before long, they once again arrived before the ancient Fuyao formation. The two of them had a tacit understanding and did not attack. Princess Linglong shook the ancient Fuyao formation with her palm and placed the star map on it. The lines twisted to form a vortex. Suyu did not say anything, preparing to place the star stone inside. "Wait!" Princess Linglong suddenly sensed something and stopped Suyu. Suyu was cautious. He kept the star stone and said coldly, "Are you going back on your word?" "No. Someone is here." Princess Linglong grabbed the air and pulled back a mass of air. There were a few faintly discernible wisps of black gas in the air. Suyu's pupils shrank. The Dark Moon Clan. Almost at that moment, a sharp black light suddenly shot out from the stone wall behind Suyu, directly piercing through Suyu's back. Luckily, Suyu was prepared. A large patch of space blades appeared on the surface of his body, stacking and wrapping around his back tightly. At the same time, he transformed into a half-dragon, his entire body covered in scales. Creak! The space blades immediately turned pitch black. A large patch of black light broke through his defenses and struck Suyu's body. Ding, ding, ding. His red scales quickly turned black and red, a sign that he was about to turn into stone. Luckily, the space blades blocked most of the black light, and only a small portion of it managed to penetrate through. Suyu's body shook off the black light on the surface of his body, and he stared coldly behind him. The Dragon Clan? 2 dragons? A mass of inky black light emanated from the stone wall, forming a complete human figure in front of them. The Baiwest sect master. Suyu's pupils shrank violently. Although the other party was dressed in a black robe, and no one could see his face clearly, his terrifying aura was unmistakable. No! Suyu keenly sensed that his aura had dropped by more than half, and his body was especially fragile. It seemed that Dongfang Xia had still managed to seriously injure him. It was no wonder. If the Baiwest sect master had personally attacked, the black light would not have been so weak. I don't care who you are. Give me the Star Stone, and I will spare your life. The Baiwest sect master had obviously come for the Star Stone. At the critical moment, he had smashed the gap in the Earth Meridian, but he did not escape. Instead, he had taken advantage of the huge shock wave to hide in the Earth Meridian. The gap was to deceive people and lure Dongfang Xia away. He had hidden in the Earth Meridian, waiting for a chance to escape. He had thought that he would have to hide for a long time, but he did not expect that 2 people would sneak into the Dayu Empire's ancient Fuyao formation. Seeing that the ancient formation was about to be activated, he had appeared to seize the Star Stone. Dream on. Princess Linglong's eyes flashed coldly. The Baiwest sect master stared at her, his pupils constricting slightly. He then sneered, "You don't seem to be able to use your full strength. To be precise, you are like a lamp that has run out of oil and cannot hold on for much longer. Are you sure you want to fight with me?" Princess Linglong sneered. "How dare you boast in front of me with your newly reconstructed body?" Her eyes flashed, and a large expanse of pink flame shot out. Chapter 1850. He hurriedly gathered a black moon on top of his head, releasing a large black light that shrouded his body. Creak! The boundless karmic flame immediately burned all the black light and swept towards the worshipping sect leader. The latter's expression changed drastically. Taking advantage of the moment when the black light was blocked, he quickly fled to the side. However, the boundless karmic flame fell on the stone wall and immediately set the withered land on fire. There was no sign of it stopping. Unless the master withdrew it, the boundless karmic flame would continue to burn and could not be extinguished by any means. At least, they could not find such a way. Fortunately, your strength is limited. Otherwise, I would have to retreat from this boundless karmic flame alone. The worshipping sect leader heaved a sigh of relief after the false alarm. Then, his expression turned sinister. "Now, there's nothing else you can do, right? Then go to hell." How powerful was the attack of the 3-crowned divine warrior? Even a casual blow from him would inevitably affect Suyu, who was nearby. With a flash of light in his eyes, he suddenly took out a golden crystal sword and slashed forward. Most of the worshipping sect leader's attention was focused on Princess Linglong. She was the biggest threat. In his eyes, Suyu was just an ant. The worshipping sect leader saw the sword, but did not care. He flicked his finger, intending to deflect the sword. However, when the sword neared, he felt an immeasurable amount of boundless karmic flame. Compared to Princess Linglong's pink boundless karmic flame, the boundless karmic flame in the sword was several times stronger. He was horrified. It was too late to use the black light to block in front of him, so he could only dodge and retreat. However, the sword swept past, and a faint flame touched his body. Whoosh! In an instant, the flame soared dozens of times, burning the worshipping sect leader into a raging, flaming man. Ah, damn it, take it back. The worshipping sect leader roared and pounced on Suyu. Princess Linglong stared at the strange golden flame, her eyes filled with deep shock. However, she had no time to ask about the details in front of her enemy. Her hands formed spells, and the two dragon horns on her head emitted wonderful ripples. He chanted the ancient dragon clan's incantation with conviction. She thought Suyu could not understand it, but little did she know that Suyu understood the ancient dragon language better than she did. She used the ultimate technique of the Dragon Emperor bloodline, Dragon Blood Boil. He ignited his own dragon blood and turned it into a formless wave of annihilation that was extremely powerful. The strength of the ripples was determined by the strength of the dragon blood in her body. To be honest, her current dragon blood was so thin that it was negligible. Even Suyu's dragon blood was far inferior to hers. However, the ripples that were released caused Suyu's pupils to contract. A pair of dragon horns swept out, and the worshipping moon sect leader, who was a three-crown emperor, turned to dust with a punk. Not even his soul was left. With just one move, he had destroyed both his body and soul. The dragon monarch's ultimate skill was simply too overbearing. Sacrificing dragon blood would allow the weak to defeat the strong. Without batting an eyelid, Suyu memorized all of the incantations she had just chanted, without missing a single word. After eliminating the enemy, Princess Linglong was not the least bit worried that her ultimate technique would be learned. She glanced at the interspatial storage device left behind by the worshipping hierarch and asked, "Don't you want it? Why don't you want it?" Suyu naturally wanted it, but the worshipping hierarch was killed by Princess Linglong. Before she expressed her stance, it was naturally not his turn to snatch it away. Princess Linglong snorted. "Anyway, this silly little girl will definitely give it to you. Even if I pick it up, it will still be a bargain for you." That was true. Once Princess Rukin's consciousness took over her body, she would most likely hand over the interspatial storage device to Suyu. Whether she picked it up or not, it would belong to Suyu. "Huh?" Suyu laughed and did not stand on ceremony as he put it away. The interspatial storage device of a three-crown emperor, there must be a lot of treasures in it. All right, let's set off immediately. The commotion just now might have been detected by Dongfang Xia. Princess Linglong urged. Suyu nodded and placed the star stone into it. The formation immediately began to operate frantically. Endless power of the Earth's veins was drawn over as the power for the formation to operate. Dongfang Xia, who was searching for traces of the worshipping hierarch near the imperial palace, suddenly sensed the changes in the Earth's veins. His expression changed drastically. "Oh no, I've been tricked." Anxious, he immediately charged into the Earth's veins, madly rushing in the direction of the ancient Fuyao formation. When he arrived before the ancient Fuyao formation, the transportation had already entered its final stage. A large expanse of white light was blinding, illuminating the faces of the two people in the formation. He had thought it was the hierarch, but after taking a closer look, he could not help but be shocked. "Suyu, Rukin, why are you two here?" Suyu stared at him coldly, not saying a word. His heart sank. He had seen with his own eyes how Dongfang Xia single-handedly stopped the transportation of the ancient Fuyao formation. Was he going to fail again? The consequences would be unimaginable. He could imagine what Dongfang Xia would do to him. With no one around, it was the best opportunity to get rid of him. Princess Linglong was also shocked. She did not have the ability to fight a three-crown emperor head-on. Secretly clenching her teeth, she pretended to be Princess Rukin again. Since she could not escape, she could only pretend to be Princess Rukin again. But she pushed the responsibility to Suyu this time. She blinked her eyes, revealing an aggrieved expression. "Father, I eloped with my brother. Please forgive me and don't miss me." What nonsense is this woman talking about? The veins on Suyu's forehead throbbed. Had she not angered Dongfang Xia enough? He had kidnapped his daughter and eloped. What father would not be angry? Moreover, Dong Fangxia had wanted to kill him for a long time. However, to Su Yu's surprise, Dong Fangxia stood where he was with his hands clasped behind his back. His face, which was covered in blood, showed a rare look of gentleness. He did not stop him, nor did he get angry. Instead, he smiled lightly and sighed. "Fine, I'll give you the wedding gifts I prepared for you in advance." He took out a pair of necklaces. One was a dragon-shaped pendant, the other a phoenix-shaped pendant. They were wrapped in a bright red box. They had been prepared not long ago. He casually threw them into the transportation formation. Princess Linglong was stunned for a moment before catching them. She had said that to divert Dong Fangxia's anger. It was just a casual excuse. She did not expect Dong Fangxia to have such an unusual attitude. "Father," Princess Linglong did not understand. "Your daughter is going to elope with someone? Why are you not angry at all?" Dong Fangxia looked deeply at Princess Rukin, his eyes full of tenderness. "Among all of you siblings, the one I owe the most is you. I could not protect your mother, causing you to lose her at a young age. I was busy with the affairs of the empire and rarely cared about you. Thank you, Wu Hin, for taking care of you all these years. I have always wanted to make it up to you, but I could not find the opportunity until Su Yu appeared." Dong Fangxia looked at Su Yu, the coldness in his eyes dissipating. "Su Yu, do not resent me for using you and the north-facing pearl as bait. I'm also giving you a new identity. The sixth prince died in the battle and saved the commoners of the imperial family. Su Yu became famous and married the princess of the imperial family and became the emperor's son-in-law," Dong Fangxia said slowly. "That was his original plan. I never thought of killing you. How could I bear to kill someone like you who has mastered the 8 great laws? Moreover, you are the person Rukin likes. Even if there are thousands of reasons to kill you, as long as she likes you, the reason to kill you is not a reason." Su Yu's eyes widened. Just as he had expected, Dong Fangxia would not allow Su Yu, whose background was unknown, to continue to exist as a member of the imperial family. However, he did not expect that Dong Fangxia had never thought of killing him. Instead, he wanted to take the opportunity to return his identity to Su Yu's and finally marry his daughter. "I don't understand. Why do you have to do this?" Su Yu said. He and Princess Rukin were more like siblings. Dong Fangxia lowered his head and smiled. His smile was a little lonely. "As a father, how could I not understand my daughter's thoughts? Rukin likes you. When I announced the engagement between you and the north-facing pearl, I knew the disappointment in her eyes better than anyone else. I wanted to fulfill her wish and make up for my many years of regret, but now that you have other choices as a father, I can only choose to give my blessings." He waved his hand lightly. "Rukin, if it is possible, come back and visit me while I'm still alive. You are my daughter, the only daughter I have left." Vicissitudes of life, loss, and sorrow filled his forehead. Princess Linglong was stunned. Dong Fangxia was the complete opposite of the cold and heartless Dong Fangxia in her memory. For a moment, she could not help but be moved. It was a pity that all parents in the world cared about their children. Who didn't think for their children? No matter how cold and heartless he was, he had a gentle side to his children. She seemed to think of the Dragon Emperor, who was also cold and heartless, but the last moment, he used his dragon body to block the attack of the epic-making dragon for her and perished. A tear rolled down her cheek, and she nodded, choking with sobs. "I'm sorry, father." She was apologizing to the Dragon Emperor and also to Dong Fangxia on behalf of Princess Rukin. Goodbye, my daughter." With a flash of white light, they entered the final teleportation stage. At last, he looked at Su Yu and nodded with a smile. "Treat her well." Su Yu was also moved. He nodded his head. "I will." The teleportation was imminent. Su Yu said, "Don't worry, the Baiwei sect master has been killed." Dong Fangxia had already seen the ashes under his feet, but he did not look at them. His eyes were focused on Princess Rukin. He watched her disappear bit by bit. At last, the white light dissipated, leaving only an empty wall. Dong Fangxia stood in front of the wall for a long time, his eyes filled with sadness and apprehension. He wanted to be an ambitious man, so he was destined to give up many things, such as kinship. At the end of the void, a pitch-black vortex hung quietly in the universe, like a bottomless pit, swallowing everything in the universe. In the depths of the vortex, a beam of brilliant white light suddenly shot out from a dry, dark ancient land, igniting the dark world. Two figures, a man and a woman, emerged from the white light. Their bodies swayed. After stabilizing themselves, the man turned and fled without saying a word, and he fled very quickly. Humph! Your reaction is quite fast. The woman smiled strangely and immediately chased after him. The two were naturally Su Yu and the Dragon Emperor's daughter. After arriving at the Dark Star civilization, the only thing holding them back was the royal dragon sword. Su Yu naturally would not hand it over so easily. Without another word, he turned and fled. However, Princess Linglong did not give Su Yu the chance to use the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. She caught up with him in a few breaths, stretched out her arms, and hugged Su Yu from behind. Chapter 1851. Princess Linglong's body was extremely agile. She wrapped her legs around his waist while her arms wrapped around his neck. She was like an octopus with 8 claws. The advanced stage of yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole that Su Yu was in the process of forming was immediately dispersed by her grip. "Brother, why are you running? Father said that you should treat me well." Su Yu rolled his eyes. "That's for Rookin. Don't flatter yourself." Princess Linglong laughed coldly. "Am I not Rookin? Do you think I am her? Hand over the royal power dragon sword, and I will thank you." "Sure, we'll talk about it after you marry me." Su Yu struggled to break free, but she tightened her grip. If this continued, it would be a stalemate. At that moment, he suddenly felt Princess Linglong's strength gradually weaken. Damn it, now of all times. Soon, her strength was reduced by half. Her eyes were filled with confusion and struggle, as if she was fighting for control with Princess Rookin. This damn girl. She really knows how to pick the right time. Princess Linglong was furious. She looked at Su Yu, who was about to break free, and her eyes flashed, as if she had made a decision. A fire cloud mark suddenly appeared between her brows. It was enchanting and beautiful. Princess Linglong pressed her whole body against Su Yu's again, her bright red lips kissing his. As their lips met, the fire cloud mark between Princess Linglong's brows turned into a ball of red light, entering Su Yu's mouth through her lips. Soon, the fire cloud mark appeared between Su Yu's brows. Su Yu immediately felt something extra in his body. He struggled to push it away, his expression uncertain as he examined his body. He saw that the divine crystal of the soul was mixed with a dark red substance. The aura was vaguely like dragon's blood, but it was not. "What did you do?" Su Yu's expression was gloomy. Princess Linglong laughed. "Guess." Su Yu's eyes flashed coldly. "No need to guess. When your consciousness recedes, I will destroy you along with your soul." Princess Linglong puffed out her chest and laughed. "Come on, kill Princess Rookin if you can." Su Yu only laughed coldly, his killing intent undiminished. So what if he killed her? It was not like he did not have the means to revive Princess Rookin. Moreover, it could even revive the pure Princess Rookin, completely destroying the other consciousness in her body. As if sensing Su Yu's killing intent, Princess Linglong's expression changed slightly. "You are so cruel. You can even kill my little sister that you've known for so many days." Su Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest and calmly waited for her consciousness to sink into oblivion. He then smiled coldly and said, "To be precise, I'm going to kill you." Princess Linglong clenched her teeth. When she saw that the fire cloud seal between Su Yu's brows had completely stabilized, a strange smile appeared on her face. "Oh, I'll be merciful and tell you what it was just now. That's the curse of life and death unique to us dragon princesses. You can only use it once in your lifetime." Princess Linglong sneered. The curse of life and death? He had never heard of it. At least, there was no such curse in the divine arts of the dragon race that he knew. A long time ago, the first dragon lady fell in love with a mortal. However, a union between a human and a dragon would definitely incur the wrath of heaven. The dragon monarch also strongly opposed it and sent the experts of the dragon clan to the mortal world to kill that mortal. When the dragon lady found out about this, she returned to the mortal world and risked her life to protect the mortal. Hearing this, don't you think that this should be a heart-wrenching love story? Princess Linglong said meaningfully. The ending should have been like this, but in reality, that mortal was just a heartless and selfish person. When the experts of the Dragon Clan came to kill him, he resolutely stole the Dragon Lady's Dragon Pearl and fled to a hostile faction of the Dragon Clan to seek protection. The Dragon Lady, who had lost her Dragon Pearl, gradually became weaker and finally died of old age. She was filled with resentment for her entire life, and before she died, she turned her resentment into a blood crystal. The Dragon Monarch also deeply cherished his beloved daughter, so he made a decision. He spent countless years to fuse the blood crystal into his body. From then on, all descendants of the Dragon Clan's royal family will have the power of the blood crystal in their veins. Hearing this, Su Yu's expression became unsightly. Something that was formed by the first Dragon Lady's resentment was definitely not a good thing. That blood crystal's function is a curse, and it links the fate of the person you love together. Princess Linglong pointed at herself. If I die, as my beloved, you will die immediately. Don't doubt it. Even if you are the Pathmaster, you won't be able to escape from it. Pathmaster. Su Yu's heart sank, and his expression became gloomy. He pointed at himself. So, if I die, will you die with me? Since their fates are linked, they should influence each other. In your dreams, even if you die, I will still be alive and kicking. The veins on Su Yu's forehead twitched. Didn't they say that their fates are linked? If you die, I will definitely die. If I die first, nothing will happen to you. If the curse passed down by the Dragon Clan's royal family was really something as simple as exchanging one's life for another, then it wouldn't be so precious. It's an inherited curse that can only be used once in a lifetime by every princess. Princess Linglong felt that it was a pity. She had originally planned to leave it for her future husband to use as a precaution against his betrayal. In her heart, her future husband should be at least at the Pathmaster level. However, she had never expected that she would be forced to use it on Su Yu. From then on, her safety was in Su Yu's hands. As such, even if she lost consciousness, she believed that Su Yu would do his best to protect her for the sake of his own life. Su Yu really wanted to strangle her. He had never done anything wrong to this woman, and he had even helped Princess Rooken, whom he was staying with. However, she was not grateful at all. Instead, she treated him like this. You Dragon Clan's people are each more rude and unreasonable than the other. The epic-making dragons are like this, and so are the evil Dragon Lord and the Fire Dragon Lord. Even you, the daughter of the Dragon Emperor, are like this. Su Yu sighed deeply. Princess Linglong's bewildered eyes focused slightly. Yes, when you wake up next time, besides handing over the royal power and the dragon's sovereign sword, you should also account for the epic-making dragons. When she finished speaking, she closed her eyes as if she had lost consciousness. Killing intent flashed past Su Yu's eyes several times, but he suppressed it in the end. The red object in her soul was indeed obscure and dangerous. After a moment of silence, he walked forward and helped the unconscious Princess Rooken up. At that moment, she opened her eyes with a groan. What she saw was a pitch-black world, and Su Yu, who was very close to her. Royal brother, where are we? The Dark Star civilization. What? Wasn't I with the eldest royal brother and the others? Did you kidnap me? Su Yu smiled bitterly as he looked at the innocent, pretty face. To be precise, you kidnapped me. His eyelids twitched at the thought of Princess Linglong. He would never let this be *TCH get what she wanted. The Dark Star civilization was prosperous and prosperous. How could he not find a way to subdue her? What does 1 + 1 equal? Su Yu asked suddenly. Princess Rooken blinked and said, 2. What's wrong? Nothing. Just checking if you were Princess Rooken. Princess Rooken glared at him. What do you mean? Do you think I don't know that 1 + 1 equals 2? I even know that 1 + 2 equals 3. Su Yu smiled without saying a word. It was pitch black all around. He had no idea how many dangers there were, so it was not advisable to move around. He found a cave and made some arrangements in the surroundings to hide the cave. Then he took out the space storage device of the Biowest sect leader, a scepter forged from an unknown black bone. Inside the scepter was a large cavern world. Since he had already fallen, Suyu easily broke through the defense line and entered. Mountains of unknown materials came into view. Many of them had the unique scent of the Dark Star civilization, and most of them had something to do with the innate black light. There was also a large pile of divine stones, about 100 million. Seeing so many divine stones, even Suyu could not help but lick his lips. How many things could he buy with this? He wondered if the entire Du Empire's storage of divine stones reached 100 million. After all, the divine stones of the Du Empire were not widely circulated. They were limited to the black market run by the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. With so many divine stones, he could use them freely in the Dark Star civilization. Apart from that, there were various training techniques of the Dark Star civilization, including descriptions of the innate talent Dark Moon Divine Light. Finally, there were some items that the Biowest sect leader had kept for himself. For example, there were several black robes that were exactly the same as the one worn by the Biowest sect leader. He did not notice it when he was wearing it, but upon closer inspection, he realized that the black robes were a little special. The material used to make them was the extremely precious extreme black dust. The extreme black dust was released by some black holes that devoured foreign objects in the void world. It surrounded the black holes all year round. Taking any one of them was extremely risky. Usually, a bottle of dust was worth at least 10 million divine stones. This black robe was made from the extreme black dust, and it had an incomparable effect on any kind of investigation. Even a pathmaster would have to examine carefully to see what was inside the black robe. As for the martial emperors, they could not tell what was inside at all. As members of the Dark Moon clan, the glaring white light was detrimental to their ability to condense the Dark Moon Divine Light. Therefore, most of the people of the Dark Moon clan were under the black robes. The black robes made from the extreme black dust were top-notch treasures. Suyu thought for a moment, then took out 2 robes and put one on Princess Rookin. The aura and waves they gave off were incompatible with the Dark Star civilization. Anyone with a bit of insight could tell that they were not from the Dark Star civilization. Apart from that, there was also a token carved in the shape of a half-moon. It contained an extremely special aura, and the words Baiwe were carved on it. It was shaped like a key, so you took it out and put it in his robes. Apart from that, there was a map that depicted the entire territory of the Dark Star civilization. It was different from the entire territory of the Dayu Empire. The Dark Star civilization was controlled by the 10 great forces. The moon-worshipping cult was one of them, and it controlled the smallest piece of land. But even the smallest piece of land was about the same size as the Dayu Empire. The leader of the 10 great forces all respected an old fellow called the King of Darkness as their ancestor. He was the strongest existence in the Dark Star civilization, the Four-Crown Emperor. For many years, he did not care about the affairs of the world, hiding in the holy land of the Dark Star civilization, the sacred moon altar. Only when the Dark Star civilization was in turmoil would he appear to turn the tide. In the past, there was a Four-Crown Emperor who passed by the Dark Star civilization. He inadvertently started a massacre, which led to the ancestor of the Dark Star civilization, the King of Darkness. Chapter 1852. Every moonlit night, his screams would pierce through space and spread throughout the entire Dark Star civilization. From then on, no other forces dared to attack the Dark Star civilization. After understanding the whole picture, the Emperor Killing Sword that he wanted to know the most about was nowhere to be found. At least the moon-worshipping sect master did not record the relevant information in some jade pendants. It seemed like he could only ask someone, "Rookin, if there's a chance, I will send you back. But for now, you should still follow me, okay?" Princess Rookin was a little depressed. This was the first time she had left her home. She could not help but feel uneasy and nervous. "All right, I will follow you, brother." Princess Rookin quickly adjusted her state of mind after learning that the threat to the royal family had been lifted. Although Princess Linglong had impersonated her, Most of what she had said was based on what she really thought. She did not care about the position of crown prince, and she was willing to follow Suyu. Otherwise, she would have gone back to her home by now. As long as I am here, I will not allow you to be bullied. Suyu rubbed her small hand. Princess Rukin blushed and nodded slightly. Opening the stone door, the two of them left. But not long after, Suyu's eyes suddenly froze. He was secretly surprised. He protected Princess Rukin behind him, secretly gripping the royal dragon sword. His expression was as if he was facing a great enemy. Princess Rukin also felt a vast, majestic aura pressing down on them. Sure enough, a beam of black moonlight descended. The auras of 6 double-crowned divine warriors and dozens of single-crowned divine warriors appeared from the black light. As soon as they appeared, they did not attack, nor did they question Suyu and the others' identities. Instead, they bowed to Suyu. "Welcome back, Sect Master." "Sect? Sect Master?" Suyu was slightly taken aback. He immediately felt that the key token with the words, "Worshipping Moon," carved on it was boiling hot. Did they rely on the key to identify people? After thinking about it carefully, Suyu's heart slowly calmed down. If even the Pathmaster could not see through the black robe made of extremely black dust, how could the double-crowned divine warriors in front of him? Then how could they identify the worshipping Moon Sect Master? Only this special key. As for whether someone would steal the key and impersonate the worshipping Moon Sect Master, if someone could take it away from the worshipping Moon Sect Master, that person's ability would definitely surpass the 3-crowned divine warriors. But in the vast Dark Star civilization, how many 3-crowned divine warriors were there? Therefore, this probability was completely negligible. Understanding this, Suyu's expression became calm. Recalling the voice of the Baiwa Sect Master, he said lightly, "Well, get up, all of you. What's happening in the sect recently?" The 6 of them looked at him respectfully. Reporting to Sect Master, "The 6 of us have handled the miscellaneous affairs of the sect according to Sect Master's decree. There is only one matter that requires Sect Master's personal review. Speak." So he was not angry. The 6 of them became even more respectful. How could they have a mood to guess the authenticity of his identity? Sect Leader, Master Bao Kuan has invited Sect Leader to participate in the discussion between the two sides. Suyu squinted his eyes. Master Bao Kuan was from the Dustless Moon faction, another great faction close to the Baiwa Sect Master. It was ranked 9th. In terms of strength, he was slightly stronger than the Reverence Moon Sect Leader. How could he meet such a person? Seeing that the Reverence Moon Sect Leader did not move, the man lowered his head and continued. "Perhaps we're discussing the missing Emperor Killer Sword. Sect Leader, please make a decision." Suyu's eyes flashed. Emperor Killer Sword. Was this not the reason he had come to the Dark Star civilization? Whether he could carry the 6 great rules and become a divine warrior of heaven and earth was crucial. He had wanted to send away the moon worshippers in front of him and leave, but now it seemed that he had to think about it further. Oh, did he send a letter or an envoy? It's his 3rd disciple, the Black Lotus Demon King. Suyu thought about it and nodded slightly. "Let's go to the Moon Worshippers' headquarters. We welcome Sect Leader's return." They led the way in front, respectfully inviting Suyu to bring Princess Ruchin back. It turned out that it was also because of the token that their teleportation was slightly affected, and they had landed on the outskirts of the Moon Worshippers' headquarters. Several double-crowned divine warriors who stayed behind at the headquarters sensed the scent of the sect leader and rushed over with the higher-ups of the sect. The Moon Worshippers' headquarters was magnificent. Endless buildings were arranged in picturesque disorder, surrounding a huge black moon-shaped palace that stood out from the dust. There were tens of thousands of maidservants and countless servants in the palace, as well as an innumerable army of imperial guards. Princess Ruchin secretly clicked her tongue as she watched. She secretly tugged on Suyu's sleeve. This was even more prosperous than the Dayu Empire. Would it be a problem to impersonate the Moon Worshippers' headquarters? Suyu secretly patted her palm, signaling her not to be nervous. As long as he didn't expose himself. So what if he pretended to be someone else? The higher-ups were already waiting at the side of Lunar Reverence Hall. "Welcome back, Sect Master." Everyone knelt down. Suyu took up the mantle and sat on the throne of the Baiyu sect master. Looking down at the people below, his emotions did not fluctuate in the slightest. He was extremely calm. You may rise. You've all worked hard in my absence. We are terrified. Looking at their expressions, it seemed that the Reverence Moon cult leader was usually very dignified, causing them to be extremely afraid. That's good too. Summon the envoy of the Dustless Moon faction, Suyu said indifferently. Someone immediately passed on the message. Not long after, a young man with a long fan in his hand and a black moon circling above his head entered. He was dressed in a black robe, but his face was exposed. He was a handsome young man, and his appearance was very similar to that of a human. He was the third disciple of esteemed Bao Kuan, Black Lotus Demon Lord. Greetings, sect leader Baiyu. He cupped his fists, not even bothering to bow. How dare you? How dare you not kneel in front of the sect leader? One of the 6 sect-protecting elders, the Double Crown Emperor, shouted. Black Lotus Demon Lord calmly unfolded his folding fan and said leisurely, "The noble people of your sect are often forgetful. Not long ago, sect leader Baiyu lost a bet with esteemed Bao Kuan. They agreed that from now on, no one from the Dustless Moon faction needs to bow when they see sect leader Baiyu. Haha, I cupped my fist just now because of my respect for sect leader Baiyu. Otherwise, Suyu heard this and frowned slightly. That sect leader Baiyu is really useless. How could he gamble with his dignity? So much so that an ant of the Double Crown Emperor dared to act recklessly in front of sect leader Baiyu. No wonder he was tricked by Dongfang Xia. He deserved it. The 6 sect-protecting elders were secretly angry, and the rest of the Single Crown Emperor's elders were also furious. This matter had always been a disgrace to the Moon Cult, and even they felt ashamed. My words are worth 1,000 gold. It is up to you whether you want to kneel or not. What message did esteemed Bao Kuan ask you to convey? So you said lightly. Black Lotus Demon Lord chuckled. Sect leader Baiyu is magnanimous. I admire you. One more word of nonsense, and you will die. Suyu shouted coldly. Since he was a sect leader, and a prestigious one at that, he should have the bearing of a sect leader. Sure enough, Black Lotus Demon Lord's face stiffened slightly, and he immediately stopped smiling. He said seriously, My master has received news about the Emperor Killing Sword and invites sect leader Baiyu to come over for a talk. Oh, Suyu was expressionless, and his emotions did not fluctuate. Black Lotus Demon Lord was secretly puzzled. Wasn't everyone aware of the sect leader Baiyu's desire for the Emperor Killing Sword? His obsession with this sword was far greater than esteemed Bao Kuan's. He asked tentatively, Sect leader Baiyu, please give me an answer so that I can reply to my master. Well, tell him that I am not interested. All right, get out of here. Suyu waved his hand impatiently. Some of the elders who were displeased with him had already thrown him out. The way everyone looked at the sect leader Baiyu changed slightly. In the past, whenever the sect leader Baiyu heard news about the Emperor Killing Sword, he would be extremely enthusiastic and could tolerate any kind of grievance. Now, he was dismissive and chased away the other party's emissary. His unyielding attitude made them very happy. Sect leader, you are wise. If there is really news, would esteemed Bao Kuan be kind enough to tell you? The one who spoke was a white-haired protector. He was Bai Li, the strongest of the 6 great protectors. He was worried that the sect leader would lose his cool and think. He did not expect the sect leader to reject him so decisively. In fact, that was what Suyu was thinking. Nowadays, the Dark Star civilization was fighting for the Emperor Killing Sword. It was chaotic, and the 10 great influences were fighting each other. We wouldn't try to hide the news when there was news. Esteemed Bao Kuan's invitation either meant that the news was fake, or even if it was real, it was probably not out of goodwill. Therefore, Suyu rejected him without hesitation. Then, during this period of time, have you found any news about the Emperor Killing Sword? He asked in a seemingly casual manner. Protector Bali looked troubled. Sect leader, since it appeared in the White Dragon Mountains 3 years ago, the Emperor Killing Sword has disappeared without a trace. We still don't know where it is. Oh, White Dragon Mountains. Yes, sort out all the relevant news from the past. I want to review it again to see if I have missed anything. Yes, Protector Bailey paused, then said, "Sect leader, may I ask why only you have returned? Where are the great skeleton protector and Fu-Hu protector?" The other 5 protectors looked surprised as well. They had long wanted to ask why only the sect leader had returned. Also, who was the person he had brought with him? Under the black robe, only a woman could be seen. "Are you questioning the sect?" Suyu snorted. "We wouldn't dare." Protector Bailey said anxiously. "It's just that it has been chaotic recently. Our moon-worshipping cult is located in a remote area. Even though we are safe for now, we might break out into a fight one day. If we don't have enough manpower, we are worried that we won't be able to deal with the chaos in the future." Suyu's expression softened. He said indifferently, "The great skeleton protector and the other 3 are in the Du Empire, taking over the place for us. They won't be able to return for now." The 6 protectors were overjoyed. "Sect leader, could it be you?" Without another word, Suyu tore off Princess Rukin's black robe, revealing her. A cute, pure, and frightened human face appeared before everyone's eyes. "This is Princess Rukin of the Du Empire." They had been plotting against the Du Empire for many years, so they were naturally familiar with the members of the royal family. Suyu nodded slightly. "Yes, Dongfang Xia and the 5 princes have been annihilated. Our moon-worshipping cult only has 1 princess left. She is willing to marry me and become the sect leader's wife. She will rule the Du Empire in the future." Without waiting for Suyu to explain his reason for doing so, the protectors were overjoyed. "Haha, the sect leader is wise and mighty. Since ancient times, it is easy to get the people's land, but difficult to win the hearts of the people. If our moon-worshipping cult were to take over the Du Empire directly, we would definitely encounter strong resistance. However, if the previous dynasty's princess were to continue to rule as a puppet, I believe the resistance would be much smaller." Princess Rukin shuddered. "Sect leader's wife?" Her eyes widened, and a hint of shyness flashed across her face. When the protectors saw her expression, they were dumbfounded. Chapter 1853. Suyu turned a deaf ear to their flattery and said calmly, "Are there any other important things to deal with? I had a great battle with Dongfang Xia and was injured. I need to go into seclusion as soon as possible." Hearing that the sect leader was injured, the guardian elders were all concerned. "Please take care of yourself, sect leader." He nodded slightly. "All right, you may all leave. I will rest first. Leave 2 followers to take care of Princess Rukin's daily life." Everyone left, except for the 2 beautiful, young, and obedient maids. They were strong, at the peak of the overlord level. "Greetings, sect leader's wife." They stepped forward obediently and bowed. Princess Rukin blushed. Who is the sect leader's wife? Nothing has been set in stone yet. However, she never dreamed that one day she would follow Suyu into the Dark Star civilization and become the sect leader's wife. She did not know whether to laugh or cry when Suyu became the 6th prince. "Well, what are your names?" "Biyue, bashful flower." Indeed, the 2 of them were extremely beautiful. Even among women, they were rare beauties. They were top-notch beauties, specially selected by the elders from among the followers for the sect leader to enjoy. Unfortunately, the sect leader had no time to enjoy them and left them to Suyu. "Are you familiar with the moon-worshipping sect?" "Huh?" The 2 women looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Even if the sect leader did not know them, he should know that they were raised in the moon-worshipping sect. How could they not be familiar with it? "Then you are very familiar with it. Very well. Let me borrow your memories." Before the 2 of them could come back to their senses, 2 dazzling soul waves shot out from under the black robe. The 2 women fainted as soon as they resisted. Suyu's soul went straight in and flipped through their memories. After a moment, he retracted his soul and pondered. The moon-worshipping sect recruited followers from all over the world in the form of a religion. It was the largest sect in terms of number of followers. For them, the black moon was a kind of faith. The higher-ups of the moon-worshipping sect absorbed the power of faith from the followers to quickly improve their cultivation. As a means of winning over followers, the moon-worshipping sect distributed a large number of resources to maintain the devout faith of the followers. In fact, Suyu was no stranger to this. The reason for the catastrophe of the 9 states all those years ago was that the glittering jewel demon god had absorbed the power of faith from the people of the 9 states in order to become a god, and finally set foot on the divine path. The heretic god had once said that the path of faith was a shortcut that many gods coveted. It allowed one to quickly become a god, and it also allowed one to rapidly increase the realm of gods. In his portable cavern world, the people of the Jinlong continent had built a giant statue in the Jinlong city. Every day, the faith released from the worship would be absorbed by the statue. Moreover, this was led by Xia Jingyu. However, Suyu had been training alone and had never cultivated any faction. Hence, he was rarely involved in the path of belief. Now that he had touched upon the faith of the moon-worshipping sect, he could not help but ponder for a while. The moon-worshipping cult had built special black moon statues in all the areas they controlled. From the main altar to the villages, there were black moon statues everywhere. Every day, they would be worshipped by the believers nearby, and the faith of the believers would be absorbed by the black moon statues. Then, all the faith in the statues would accumulate in the forbidden area of the moon-worshipping cult's headquarters, the Black Moon Divine Pool. It would be opened once a month, and the sect master would lead the higher-ups into absorbed faith. The moon-worshipping cult was the last great faction to appear in the Dark Star civilization, but it was also the one that developed the fastest. The other factions had been accumulating power for several generations. However, the moon-worshipping cult only relied on the current sect master to build such a great foundation. There were 10 double-crown emperors, more than 100 single-crown emperors, and more than 1,000 peak overlords. The reason was that the strength of faith could improve one's cultivation extremely fast. The key of the Black Moon Divine Altar was in Suyu's hand, which was the key-shaped token with the word moon-worshipping carved on it. Faith, interesting. Suyu couldn't help but be curious about it. The believers of the moon-worshipping cult were divided into several levels. The highest level was the 10 guardian elders, who were all peerless existences of the Double Crown Emperors. They were responsible for guarding the moon-worshipping cult and deterring foreign enemies. The second level was the 100 preaching elders, who were responsible for preaching in various places and recruiting new believers. The third level was the 1,000 altar masters, who were responsible for handling the affairs of each altar. The last level was the hundreds of millions of moon-worshipping imperial guards, who were responsible for maintaining the order of the entire territory of the moon-worshipping cult. However, in addition to this, the moon-worshipping cult also had a very special existence. The Holy Maiden, her position was comparable to that of the moon-worshipping cult master. The Holy Maiden was chosen by the believers and represented the will of hundreds of millions of believers. If the cult master did anything detrimental to the moon-worshipping cult, the Holy Maiden had the right to replace him. When Suyu heard this, he felt incredulous. The moon-worshipping cult was founded by the moon-worshipping cult master, and he was the leader of the entire force. Why would he set up the position of the Holy Maiden to tie his neck? From the memories of the two maidservants, the position of the Holy Maiden was indeed very high. The Holy Maiden was not in the cult all year round, but if she came back, the moon-worshipping cult master would need to discuss all sorts of matters of the cult with her, angering the Holy Maiden. And she can still remove the cult master? This is incredible. The more Suyu thought about it, the more ridiculous he found it. He had conquered a territory for himself, but he had invited an outsider to be the emperor. He did not believe that the moon-worshipping cult master would be so stupid as to be so willing. There must be a reason behind it. In the maidservant's memories, the news about the Holy Maiden surprised and frightened Suyu the most. Fortunately, the saintess was not in the sect at the moment. If she appeared, there would be a lot of trouble. The only thing worth rejoicing about was that the saintess' cultivation was not high. She was at the level of a single crown emperor. It was not a big deal to be exposed by her. They could just kill her to silence her. Apart from that, he had also investigated the various details of the moon-worshipping cult's headquarters. He casually tapped on the foreheads of the two maids and erased their memories before their souls were searched. The two women woke up and stood up shakily. Their faces were blank and then terrified. goddaughter deserves to die, actually falling asleep in front of sect master. You're probably too tired. Don't worry, help the cult master's wife to cultivate. Suyu left the great hall and went to the training room reserved for the sect master. Suyu heaved a long sigh of relief. With a thought, a crack appeared between his brows. 5 souls flew out from it. 4 of them were the souls of the 4 protectors of the moon-worshipping cult, and the other was the flood dragon monarch. The 5 souls struggled violently under the restraint of the soul-devouring mirror. Currently, my soul realm is that of a single crown emperor. I wonder what kind of changes will occur after I swallow 5 lumps of souls. So he was secretly looking forward to it. Then he closed his eyes and absorbed the first soul. At the same time, in a secret room at the headquarters. Protector Bai Li, why didn't you tell Sect Master that there's a big problem at the border? A very important altar has been occupied by the Dustless Moon faction. This matter can only be solved by Sect Master himself. A translucent protector said. Bai Li's face was as dark as the water. He sighed. It's not that I don't want to say it, but I can't. The translucent protector was a little puzzled. What cannot be told to Sect Master? The Saint Lady sent a message. She has returned from outside the border. After learning of the matter, she personally rushed over to deal with it. Hearing this, the translucent protector's eyes revealed a trace of fear. She's back. No wonder. If it was her, the problem at the border could be easily solved. You were right not to tell Sect Master. Otherwise, with Sect Master's temper, he would most likely choose to go into seclusion again until the Saint Lady leaves again. As long as the Saint Lady was around, the moon-worshipping cult master would avoid her for another day. The two rarely met. Speaking of which, our sect master is helpless. Anyone would feel uncomfortable being overpowered by a Saint Lady, right? Another protector sighed. However, don't you feel that sect master seems to have changed a little this time? How should I put it? He has become more decisive. Protector Bai Li and the translucent protector nodded lightly. There is indeed a slight change. Perhaps Sect Master has more confidence after taking control of the Dayu Empire. The protectors nodded in agreement. Time flowed like water. Half a year passed slowly. The moon-worshipping cult operated normally under the care of the protectors. As their sect master, he had finally digested the 4th lump of the double-crown emperor's soul. In the training room, a layer of soul light reverberated around Suyu's body. His soul was so strong that it penetrated his body. This was because his soul was reaching the limit of what his body could bear. Now that he had been tempered by the dragon blood, the strength of his body had reached the level of the double-crown emperor. His soul had surpassed the limits of his body. This meant that his soul was extremely close to reaching the level of the triple-crown emperor. Swish! All of a sudden, Suyu opened his eyes. 2 waves of soul light swept out. With the training room as the center, they swept out in all directions. All the followers in the main altar felt a throbbing from the depths of their souls. All of them knelt in worship. Long live the moon-worshipping cult master. Unify the world. Suyu, who had just woken up, heard a familiar cry. The soul light on the surface of his body shook, but his soul was not shaken. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he immediately withdrew his soul gaze. 4 lumps of the double-crown emperor's soul. It's really amazing. After digesting them, my soul has directly pushed to the level of the triple-crown emperor. So he was speechless. His divine crystal of soul had expanded by 10 times, turning into an exquisite, egg-sized crystal core. The soul power was filled with was extraordinary. Strange things keep happening. So he was secretly surprised. The last time he swallowed the soul of Huan Yulang Jun, he had directly broken through from the soul level of a peak overlord to the single crown emperor. Now, after swallowing the souls of 5 double crown emperor, he had jumped from a single crown emperor to the triple crown emperor. There were many impurities in a soul. Swallowing a soul to absorb 1/10 of it was already very good. Swallowing the souls of 5 double crown emperor, the soul power absorbed was not even half of the real double crown emperor's soul. At the very most, Su Yu's soul power could barely reach the double crown emperor level. But now that he had directly broken through to the triple crown emperor level, it was really strange. After thinking about it again and again, Su Yu kept this doubt in mind. With a strong soul power, he could finally start doing what he had been looking forward to for a long time. He took out the bronze plate. After swallowing the soul of Huan Yulang Jun, he could barely see the cultivation technique of stage 6 appear on the bronze plate. But because his soul power was not strong enough, it was very blurry, and he could not see it clearly. Now, his soul power was strong enough to reach the level of the Triple Crown Emperor. Looking at it, a clear line of words came into view. However, what shocked Su Yu was that it was not a cultivation technique. Chapter 1854. Wait, didn't Yun Yazi say that 6 levels of cultivation were recorded on the bronze plate? What about the 6th level? Why is there an irrelevant formula? Su Yu was bewildered. He wanted to ask Yun Yazi, but he was still in the divine 9-dragon cauldron, recovering his soul with the blood left behind by the ancient god Jiolong. His eyes flashed with great disappointment. The long-awaited 6th level was not there. In other words, the Heaven Sun gazing at air technique had reached its end. This was a cultivation technique that had been cultivated since the Zhenlong continent, and it was of great help to him. For a moment, he felt lost. After a long silence, he smiled. Forget it, it's just a fragment. Even if I get the 6th level, I can't get the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels. It's just an early end. In a relaxed mood, he had the heart to look at the formula. Upon closer inspection, Su Yu found that the formula was quite special. Heavenly script. The words of the formula were not the common language of the great beginning realm, but a very ancient heavenly script. If Su Yu hadn't been familiar with the heavenly script and mastered more than 30% of it, he probably wouldn't have been able to recognize the formula. He softly chanted the incantation word for word. Suddenly, a large green light was released from the bronze plate, and Su Yu, who was holding the bronze plate, was instantly engulfed. Su Yu hurriedly resisted, but in the face of the devouring power, he was like the humblest ant in the world, and resistance was futile. He was shocked, and he was swallowed by the bronze plate. Clang! The bronze plate fell to the ground, and Su Yu disappeared. When Su Yu regained consciousness, a vast expanse of ruins appeared in front of him. Destroyed buildings, broken city walls, broken and damaged soldiers, and arrows all over the ground. It was as if they had been forgotten in time and space, silent. Where is this? Su Yu was bewildered. Was there another space inside the bronze plate? Why did he enter here? Yun Yazi had never said that there was another space inside the bronze plate. He tried to walk and was shocked to find that his surroundings seemed to have solidified, and he could only take a step forward with great difficulty. What's going on? It was just one step, but it seemed to consume all his strength. Even as he was feeling bewildered, this careless step seemed to have triggered something, and a huge black eagle flew down from the highest heavens. His strength was very weak, but his body was filled with an abnormally astonishing aura. Primordial Qi. That's right. It was the origin of all things in the absolute beginning realm, absolute beginning Qi. How is this possible? Su Yu cried out in shock. Absolute beginning Qi was extremely rare in the current absolute beginning realm, and it was almost impossible to obtain it in the outside world. Only the ancient oil lamp of the sacred mortal body could burn everything in the world into a tiny amount of primordial Qi. However, the amount of primordial Qi that the giant eagle before them contained was more than even the entire constellation C could match. Chirp! When the giant eagle discovered Su Yu, it let out a sharp cry and swooped down. It tried to peck Su Yu with its sharp giant beak. Su Yu could not move, and he could only watch as the giant eagle pecked at his body. Clang! Fortunately, Su Yu had just been tempered by the dragon blood, so his body was extremely tough. The giant eagle swooped down rapidly, but not only did it not manage to pierce through Su Yu, it fell as if it had pecked an iron plate, and its entire body crashed into him. Dong! With a dull thud, the giant eagle killed itself on the spot, falling in front of Su Yu's feet. The way it died was truly humiliating. Su Yu laughed in surprise. Although the giant eagle contained an astonishing amount of primordial qi, it did not seem to be very powerful. The reason it had dared to peck at Su Yu was probably because the primordial qi in Su Yu's body was very weak, causing it to mistakenly think that Su Yu was very weak. The result was a tragedy. After resting for a while, Su Yu squatted down with great difficulty. He was so tired that he was sweating profusely. He clenched his teeth and persevered, barely managing to catch the giant eagle. The moment he touched it, Su Yu felt a burning sensation on his chest, and an ancient oil lamp flew out on its own. The weak flame flickered incessantly, as if it was about to be extinguished. It shot out a ball of flame, instantly burning the giant eagle into nothingness, and a large amount of nine-colored gas evaporated. The flames suddenly became brighter, and even the ancient oil lamp seemed to become a little more brand new. Could it be that burning something that contains primordial qi will change the oil lamp? Su Yu's eyes were filled with thought. He saw a small tree full of orange fruits in the distance, which also contained a shred of primordial qi. With a thought, he walked step by step to the side of the small tree with great difficulty. It was only a short distance of 1,000 feet, but he felt as if he had walked for half a year. As he neared the small tree, the oil lamp flew out on its own, burning the small tree into ashes. The light of the oil lamp grew stronger, illuminating the sky with the nine-colored light of the oil lamp. An unexpected scene appeared. Under the illumination of the nine-colored light, the entire illusory ruins were filled with light and shadows, and an illusory scene appeared. In a magnificent palace, there were many soul bodies walking around one after another. They were born with only souls, but no bodies. Every soul was extraordinarily strong. Even the maidservants were divine warriors of the heavens and earth. The patrolling guards were divine warriors of the heavens and earth. The leader of the guards was a divine warrior of the heavens and earth. There were even a few faint auras of pathmasters among them. One of them even made Su Yu feel suffocated. That kind of power, like that of a ruler, made Su Yu feel that he could not compare to it. Su Yu's pupils shrank. Who was that? What kind of place had these ruins been in the past? Even as his heart trembled, a voice echoed out from the palace, echoing through the passage of countless years. This is the Taishu Xian Palace, and I am the Taishu Master. You can call me the Soul Law Dominator. Ah, so you almost cried out in surprise. It was an illusion in front of him. This place had been destroyed for countless eras. Where did the voice come from? His heart trembled violently. However, the owner of the voice seemed to have seen through Su Yu's thoughts. I am in the long river of time of the first era. An era was trillions of years. The great beginning realm had existed for only one era. The first era? What era was that? The great beginning realm was only one era. How could there be a first era? Living creature of the present world, the last generation of the second era, I really don't know whether to feel lucky or sad for you. The voice disappeared, and the nine-colored portrait disappeared. The scattered light sprinkled on Su Yu's body, fusing into his body bit by bit. The ancient oil lamp dimmed again, unable to project enough illusions. He wanted to continue asking questions, but he could not. The Space Law Dominator? The Taishu Master? Su Yu recalled the shocking identity in his mind. At that moment, the last remnant of the light merged into his body. The pressure around me seems to be much weaker. When he came back to his senses, he immediately noticed something strange. His body moved, and he took a step forward easily. Could it be because the light merged into my body just now? Su Yu was secretly surprised. At the same time, he found that he had a vague understanding of the soul law. This feeling only appeared when he was comprehending the Tao rains raindrops. This my understanding of the soul law has increased a little, so you could not believe it. It was so easy to understand part of the soul law. He was excited and tried to find other objects with rich primordial energy for the ancient oil lamp to absorb to recreate the illusion just now. However, at that moment, his surroundings turned dark, and he found himself back in the outside world. He was still holding the bronze plate with both hands, and a thick layer of dust had accumulated on his body. Has this been half a year? Observing the scattered dust, he deduced that he had spent half a year in the bronze plate. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He looked at the bronze plate again and tried to recite the incantation, wanting to enter again. However, the bronze plate did not respond again. At that moment, a faint voice came into his soul. Calm your heart and savor the soul law that you have comprehended. More haste makes waste. Remember, was it the Taishu master? Outside the bronze plate, he could also communicate with Suyu across the Eurus? Suyu was shocked. What kind of existence was the soul law master? However, what he said was not wrong. More haste makes waste. He had not yet digested the soul law that he had just comprehended. Thinking about it, Suyu's eyes gradually brightened. So the soul law can be used in this way. He had a new understanding of the soul law. Knock, knock. At that moment, there was a knock on the door outside the secret room. Suyu raised his eyes and looked over. He was surprised to find that he could easily see the few souls in the outside world without using his soul eyes. To be precise, the souls of all the creatures in the main altar of the moon-worshipping cult were clearly visible in his eyes. Outside the secret room were the souls of Bai Li and the 6 guardians. They were waiting outside eagerly, looking extremely anxious. Was there something important? Suyu's heart thumped as he opened the stone door. Greetings, sect master. Suyu said calmly. Is there something urgent for you to disturb my training? Guardian Bai Li looked troubled. Sect master, please have a look. He presented a jade pendant in the shape of a black moon. It was an emergency communication artifact unique to the moon-worshipping cult. He did not take it, merely scanning it with his soul. Immediately, a calm and steady voice came from it. I'm trapped in the White Dragon Mountain. Come to my rescue quickly. That tone did not sound like he was looking for help. It was clearly an order. In the entire moon-worshipping cult, only the Saint Lady dared to call herself a saint. So you could not help but sneer. Save you? If the Saint Lady was dead, no one could restrain the sect master. He could not find any reason to convince himself to come to her rescue immediately. He was about to say a few perfunctory words when suddenly, Suyu's heart moved slightly. A layer of soul light faintly appeared in his ears. Suddenly, the voice that originated from the soul reached his ears. Why hasn't the sect master responded? If the Saint Lady is in trouble, the sect master will also be in big trouble. Hey, he has been in isolation for a year. Could it be that he still hasn't had enough? What is there to hesitate about? Hurry up and rescue him. None of the 6 guardians present spoke, nor did they dare to transmit their voices in front of the sect master. What Suyu heard came from the soul, which was the true thoughts in his heart. This was the new use of the soul rule that he had tasted after comprehending the soul rule. This method was similar to how the Taishu master had easily seen through Suyu's inner thoughts.